Good evening, all. I am Min No, your 2024 Board President. Welcome to this meeting of the Milpitas Unified School District Board of Education. We appreciate your attendance and participation in our education proceedings, which align with the Ralph M. Brown Act for open meetings. Tune in to our hybrid-style meetings online on either Zoom or YouTube or in person inside our boardroom. To review, public comments can be made while you're logged onto Zoom or if you are in person. YouTube, however, is a listen-only option. If you're unable to do either of these, please visit our written public comments webpage for instructions on how to submit your written comment. 1 2-minute public comment per person is allowable for each item. Item number 7, closed session announcement. Board Member Zhang.
Thank you, President No. I have 3 announcements. In closed session, the board unanimously approved the superintendent's recommendation to accept the reassignment of a certificated manager. The effective date will be July 1st, 2024. Second announcement in closed session, the board unanimously approved the superintendent's recommendation to accept the resignation of a classified manager. The effective date will be June 30th of 2024. And the final announcement is in closed session, the board unanimously approved the superintendent's recommendation to accept the resignation of a certified manager, effective date June 30th, 2024. Thanks all.
Thank you, Board Member Zhang. Item 8, review and approve open session agenda. Are there any adjustments or requests? I have one request, moving action item B4 to before B1.
Motion to move item B4
To before B1.
to before B1.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Open session is approved with the adjustment. Item 9, flag salute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cadet Sue B, and accompanying me today are Senior Chief Polywall and Petty Officers Ferranda, Tran M, and Mendoza L, as well as Cadets Yu, Lu, Tran J, Trung, Inkter, Lin, Nguyen L, and Mendoza J. We are here representing the Milpitas High School NJROTC. As of right now, we're going to be doing this flag salute, so please stand, remove all your hats and hoods, and place your right hands over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You guys may all be seated.
Thank you, cadets of the NJROTC. Item 10, comments from the public. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board on any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board that is not agendized, either before or during the board's consideration of the item. Furthermore, to help expedite the public comment process, 5 people at a time can come to the podium to line up for public comment and prepare to speak. Then the next group of 5 people line up for public comment to help expedite the process. If there are large numbers of people, 10 or more, to speak on the same topic, we ask to have the leaders of that group speak and those who are there in support with them to stand up together at the podium. In addition, if it is a large group of 10 or more addressing the same issue, after the leaders make their public comments, we ask only those additional speakers who have something extra to add to this discussion as to not repeat what was already shared shall speak in public comment. Scott, are there any written public comments at this time?
Yes, we have some written comments that are for unagendized items. Okay, the first one is from Jennifer Guthrie of Chesborough Avenue. Hello, my name is Jennifer Guthrie. I am a third grade teacher at Zanker and an 11-year MUSD teacher. I want to make it known that what is happening with the PE fiasco at the elementary sites is absolutely unacceptable. The Band-Aid of lab time that is being placed on the gaping wound of being understaffed is not a long-term solution. Neither is hiring a STEAM teacher for next year. With the loss of 100 to 150 minutes of instructional time per week, I have lost the time to be able to make ongoing meaningful connections with my students because I have had to choose between SEL and reading instruction. I have lost time needed to plan for and to teach in-depth science and social studies lessons. I am having to plan for lab time during my prep time. How does that make sense? We are now go, go, go. We hit the ground sprinting, not running every morning. That grind, hustle, and culture is not what we should be promoting. Hire PE teachers, one for each site. None of this sharing teachers across elementary school business. Hire one PE teacher per site. Thank you, Jennifer Guthrie. Next one is from Kai Lay of Summerfield Drive in Milpitas. We are concerned that our students are receiving less instructional time from their teachers due to the change in PE classes that must be taught by their primary teachers. We are advocating for a full-time PE teacher be assigned to the class so the primary teachers have sufficient time for providing the full attention for my student. Missing 100 hours of instructional time will hinder them from learning what is needed in second grade curriculum with the missing learning time. How can our child perform to the fullest in the state testing during third grade? Students are already falling behind with learning during the pandemic. With the missing 100 hours of weekly instructional time, I can only feel our students falling more behind. Please reconsider for our primary students. This is from Quinshea North of South Main Street. I'm a parent of a 6th, 2nd, and kindergarten child at Zanker. I've been made aware that grades 1 through 3 have not had PE since January. Instead, they are wasting time doing lab, which causes them to lose 100 minutes per week of instructional time. The children are still catching up from the pandemic, and this will continue to affect them all for state testing as well. It's not fair to our kids. Please hire an experienced PE teacher ASAP so that our children can get the proper education they deserve. Please help. This is Haley Spanagel of Matterhorn Court. This is my 26th year teaching at MUSD. Several people on this board I have known my whole career, or our kids went to school together through Sinnott, Rancho, and MHS. As a first grade teacher, I have been directly affected by the mid-year switch to suddenly having to teach PE and having 100 minutes of time when the para cannot directly teach. I am still prepping for PE and prepping for my prep. I already have to spend my own time and supplies to photocopy math reproducibles, which we promised when we adopted Math in Focus. In addition, we do not have a science curriculum with textbooks or workbooks. Where is the money the district has been saving and not adopting curriculum for primary students? Everything we teach is important and valued for our students' success. It is necessary to have quality and meaningful instruction when they are not in class. I still do not understand why we have to cover for the district's faults in previous hiring practices. In their lack of actually regarding the culture of we, the proposition of sacrificing TKK as well as 4th through 6th enrichment and PLC to accommodate this issue next year does not make it feel more equitable. Why is the district not hiring a certificated professional to teach PE or a core subject that would relieve me of a matter to teach STEAM? Primary students and teachers would benefit from having core subject matter that students need to meet end-of-year standards. STEAM instruction will not cover our grade level standards. I will still have an increased workload with an added subject to teach. Where can I get the 100 minutes of time to continue making up the district's lack of funds? It seems like a misallocation of funds to pull from the arts or TKK in grades 4 through 6 to only focus on 3 grade levels. This is from Luan Nim of Summerfield Drive in Milpitas. And this one is, we strongly believe that the recent changes to primary grades PE has a negative impact to the progress and learning of my children. And we've got 3 more. This is from Deepa Panchal of Kristen Ridge Way. Hello, please do not remove the tech elective from Rancho Middle School. Being in Silicon Valley, it's crucial that kids start early on learning technology. Thanks, Deepa. This one is from Abhishek Lahiri from Kristen Ridge Way in Milpitas. Hi, the tech elective and the corresponding tech class is one of the most popular electives, and many kids simply like it a lot because of its relevance in today's day and age. I hope MUSD will continue to offer this elective to the students of Rancho. As a taxpayer, I would like to take this opportunity to express my support for keeping the tech elective in Rancho, increases funding, and start more STEM-related programs. Thanks and regards, Abhishek Lahiri. And this is Helen Tuet of Pinewood Court in Milpitas. To the board, superintendent, and Principal Caruso, thank you for saving the tech elective at Rancho. It is so important for students to have exposure to tech, coding, CAD, 3D printing, robotics, AI, machine learning in this age of technology. My oldest is transferring to the Innovation Campus next year from MHS, and if it weren't for early exposure to tech, she would not have had the confidence and courage to take the leap to move there. With my second child entering Rancho, I am thankful he will have the opportunity to further his tech knowledge. Tech and robotic classes can cost thousands of dollars a year, which means only students with financial means can have access to this knowledge and gain an advantage in the future. Students build their tech confidence and competence when given the opportunity. I am glad MUSD made the equitable decision to keep the tech elective at Rancho. You are providing equal opportunity for all students who want to explore and pursue technology. You are planting seeds, future students, for the Innovation Campus. I hope to see MUSD's vision for the Innovation Campus come to life. With gratitude, Helen Tuet. And that is it for the non-agendized public comments.
Thank you, Scott. Moving on to the in-person public comments, and I have a speaker card for Tina Fontenot Martin.
Good evening. My name is Tina Fontenot Martin, and I live at Blue Spruce Court. I have a 6th grade student at Zanker Elementary School, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as a Pearl Zanker PTA officer. I would like to read an excerpt of the position statement that our PTA has taken in response to the primary PE changes at our school. The Milpitas Council PTA, school board trustees, and superintendent were all emailed a copy of this in full. The Zanker PTA strongly believes in the following. The school, quote, must provide environment, resources, and structure that will enable each child to be a successful learner, end quote. Learners are given meaningful and engaging learning experiences to espouse in them a love of learning, to encourage them to stay in school, thereby increasing enrollment rates and test scores. and the school must continue to find ways to build on top of proven methods and techniques to close the achievement gap within these learners. Teachers must also be given ample time to prepare their lessons. Quote, physical education and activity are critical components of a full school curriculum. The recent change to our school site with respect to primary PE and the resulting impact to our teachers and learners goes contrary to all the bullets above. The solution that was reached is counterproductive in a number of ways. The impact to students, the loss of 100 minutes per week of scheduled credentialed instruction time. The most recent iReady data shows this for ELA and math scores. The PE content standards, our students should receive standard PE instruction from a credentialed PE teacher. The impact to teachers, they're having to do something new mid-school year, preparing PE lessons, doubling their prep work, and they're losing time to teach new content and lessons. The Zanker PTA demands that a credentialed PE teacher or a credentialed instructor be put in a place in our school until the end of the school year so that the students either continue to receive instruction from their teachers or equitably receive standard instruction from a credentialed instructor. The teachers then wouldn't have to prep for their prep time, since they will either go back to the previous model of having prep time during PE, or they wouldn't have to prepare materials for a credentialed instructor teaching the class. We are advocating for every first to third grade student and teacher at Zanker. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Fritzi Borja.
Hi, I was here, my name is Fritzi Borja. I am a mother of an 8th grader at Rancho, a 6th and 8th and 3rd grader at Zanker Elementary. It's public comments, so I guess I want to address the parents that are here, the teachers that are here. We're a unified community asking for this change, and I would like to know what else will it take for someone to talk and take a look and revise this. So let us know what needs to happen. We're ready to make the change. We would love for someone to step up and help us make this happen for our kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Egret.
Good evening. I'm a Milpitas resident, and I'm also a MUSD employee. I'm here to talk tonight about the February 13th board meeting. I watched the meeting from home because I was interested in the superintendent's budget reduction plan. It was conveniently last on the action items that night. In the beginning of the board meeting, 5 NJROTC students spoke during the comments from the public regarding their master chief being terminated. At no point were they told that they could not speak during that time. When a board member asked the superintendent about the termination, she told him it is on tonight's agenda later in the evening. It is known that the students should not have spoken at that time. There are 3 issues here. Why were the students allowed to talk during the comments from the public for something that was on the agenda, which was obvious after the first student spoke? Anyone else would have been stopped. The board's guidelines were not followed. How did the students have access to something that was on the agenda, but the details were not made public until the superintendent presented it at 10:30 p.m.? Was the list leaked? And why was it not made public on the agenda? The third item is, once it came up on the agenda, immediately Board Vice President Kelly Yip-Schwan jumped at asking the board to remove the NJROTC item from the list. She did talk about how valuable the program is, which I do agree it is a valuable program, but it is a known fact that her husband, Bill Schwan, currently volunteers and advocates for the NJROTC program. He even made a public comment that night. I believe this gives the impression of the conflict of interest, and Ms. Yip-Schwan should have recused herself at that time. If you set up processes, they should be followed. And there also should be more transparency within our agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to set a norm here. As we are a school district and in servitude to our students, we're not here to denigrate our students and saying that they should not speak. We have student board reps out here. We're trying to elevate student voice. So please be mindful and respectful in your comments. Thank you. Next, we have Suzette Bramajan.
Good evening. So I just want to say something referring to the board decisions from the meeting of February 13th and the decisions that are upcoming tonight. Rather than a lack of money, it's a matter of priorities. A school district budget shows our values in a very stark way. How much we pay for our schools and what we can afford for our youngest citizens is a choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Roberto Clemente.
Good evening. My name is Roberto Clemente. I am the head wrestling coach at MUSD. We are here tonight to be, I guess, honored for our season this year. I just wanted to come up and talk about high school sports and their importance for all our young kids. I stand before you today with immense gratitude for the opportunity to express the profound impact that high school sports have had on all of my kids. I'm going to rush through this. I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of you for your unwavering support for all our kids and for MUSD athletics in general. High school sports serve as a cornerstone to growth and to educational experience, offering students a platform to develop not only as athletes, but as well-rounded human beings. I just wanted to come up here and personally thank you for all the stuff that you guys have done for the school district and for MUSD in general. I understand how expensive sports can be, and I understand how difficult it is to put away money for something like sports. We need it, and I just want to say that I know in the future MUSD will be asking for things, and I would hope that the representation that we have here tonight will kind of help out in some of your decisions for some of the things that MUSD athletics needs. Again, I'm just up here to say thank you and how much we appreciate you guys in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lori Louie.
Hello. My name is Lori Louie. I'm a Union Stewart Site Rep, Chapter Secretary, and Senior Staff Secretary at MHS. This year's proposed budget cuts include our health clerks either being laid off or a reduction in their hours. The remaining health clerks will be assigned to the school sites for less than the school day hours. Prior to COVID, CSEA attempted to get an increase in hours and positions for the health clerks and sites. Then when COVID hit, funds came in and health clerks were scheduled for the full school day at all sites. Now that we are no longer receiving COVID funds, the district wants to go back to fewer health clerks and a reduction in hours at each site. COVID funds were used to fully fund a counselor at the high school, yet that position is not being touched. The district currently has 70 employees in administrative or management positions, including 2 co-principals at an elementary site that only serves about 250 students. In my many years with this district, we have never been this top heavy. I'm asking that the board look for other ways to fund our health clerks, just as they due to fund administrative, management, and certificated positions. Our health clerks are essential and directly serve our students on a daily basis. Please save our health clerks. Thank you.
All right, that is all of the speakers for non-agendized items. Scott, I know we have some online comments as well.
Yes, we have 5 hands raised. We're going to leave it right there. Well, now we have 6 hands raised. This is for non-agendized items. We are starting at the top. Melanie De Guzman, we've enabled your audio. Take yourself off mute, and you have 2 minutes. Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Melanie De Guzman from Ternera Loop. In addition to being a mother of a 3rd and 6th grader within MUSD, I'm also proudly providing health care to our Milpitas community for the past 18 plus years. I moved here in 2016 because of the Milpitas schools. And I want to acknowledge all of the amazing teachers and staff within Milpitas Unified for all the efforts they did, especially during the pandemic. As an essential worker, I had peace of mind continuing my work to take care of everyone in our community because of the confidence I had in the teachers and staff, especially at Zanker Elementary, specifically Ms. Raj in kindergarten, as well as Ms. Rook and Ms. Baumgardner. I want to throw my support with regard to the PTA stance regarding the issues regarding the PE education issues. I think it's completely disrespectful to pull the rug under from our teachers and staff who worked so hard during the pandemic to maintain the amazing level of educational value to our kids at this point in time. You need to give them that support time. And what has happened is very disappointing. I hope the school board takes into consideration the requests that are put forth by the PTA. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Fred Luchter. We have enabled your audio. Take yourself off mute, and you have 2 minutes to speak. There you go. Take yourself off mute. Fred, you've got to take yourself off mute. Okay, maybe we can get back to you, Fred. We're going to move on to the next person, Ritika N. We're going to enable your audio. Take yourself off mute, and you have 2 minutes. Go right ahead.
Hi, this is Ritika here, and I'm a parent I have 2 kids at Pearls Anchor, one a 1st grader and a 6th grader. So this is I am supporting the PTA statement for the PE issues that we have raised, the primary PE change. So this change, I would understand affects about 2,000 students across the 10 elementary Milpitas schools. How are we planning to support these students that are missing their lesson time with their teachers? How are we supporting the teachers that are missing their prep times because they need to prepare for the PE, which is something completely new for them? I would hope that we can work together to find a solution which is amiable to all parties. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Divya Beta. We're going to enable your audio. You have 2 minutes to speak. Go right ahead. Actually, she just took her hand down. We're going to move on to Bona. All right. Well, we're going to move on to Bona Chu. We've enabled your audio. Please take yourself off mute, and you have 2 minutes. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I am a mother of 2nd and 5th grader in Pearls Ankle Elementary and would like to support PTA statement, or I can call concern over PU educator in Zanker Elementary School. I would like to bring that students should not receive physical education training from their classroom teacher rather than a credentialed PE teacher. They are affected in two significant ways. Firstly, they miss out on dedicated education time that could be better utilized for their overall learning. Secondly, they are deprived of proper and comprehensive physical education that can only be provided by qualified PE teachers. This dual impact underscores the necessity of ensuring that students receive both quality academy, academic instruction and appropriate physical education from specialists in their respective fields. Having said that, we have seen the disappointing performance observed at MUSD Olympics by Zanker Elementary School last year highlights the urgent need for credentialed PE teacher in the school. Not only we are losing out on valuable instruction hours due to the absence of certified educator, but our children are also being deprived of proper PE training. While we often discuss the importance of psychological well-being for children, it's crucial to recognize that receiving adequate physical education facilitated by qualified instructor is essential for fostering mental stability. As the adage goes, physical education is akin to meditation, promoting healthy minds alongside healthy bodies. I am looking forward for your support to approve what Zanker PT is looking forward for. Thank you.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read the next item. When you have that back online, please let me know. Number 11, MUSD strategic goals. Build a cultural we that engages parents, staff, and community partners in supporting student success. 2, improve communication systems for better outreach to parents, students, and staff. 3, develop educational pathways that allow students to apply their passion and learning for their future careers. 4, focus services and support systems to ensure that all students are engaged in their learning and are making social, emotional, and academic gains. And 5, identify creative student-focused strategies to accommodate enrollment growth and ensure healthy learning environments. Looks like we're good for the last public comment online.
Yes, Divya Beta, we are going to enable your audio. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please take yourself off mute. There you go, and just take yourself off mute, Divya. Okay. She is unable to take herself off mute, so that is it for our public comments.
All right, thank you, Scott. For all others that missed the window, they can submit a written public comment on our website at musd.com. Item 12, Superintendent's Report.
Excuse me, Board President, no, can we make sure that the audience knows that we don't support any anti-Semitic language?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Norwood.
Thank you. Thank you, our board, our student board reps. See something, say something, step up.
Thank you, President No. I just have to pause and reiterate that hurtful language coming from particularly people from outside of our district is something that disrupts who we are. What we have here tonight with people speaking about their views is what we are about, but those who take the opportunity to destroy or denigrate others is not what this is for, and so I thank you for cutting that person off. And I thank all of those of you who are a part of our district for speaking candidly and also with honor for each other. With that, I would like to go into our recognitions. And we have, first off, 2 of our sports teams. The first is led by Coach Williams. It is our boys soccer team. And this is the first time in 14 years that they've made it to CCS. And they were almost, well, they are on their way to number 1, and I think that we'll see them there next year. But I want to ask Coach Williams and the team to come up so we can have a photo with the board and executive cabinet, and also congratulate you for your hard work.
Shoot, the floor is mine. That's dangerous. Most of my guys are all out of club training right now. So they were Tuesday's a heavy club training night for soccer. So the guys that are here, I very much appreciate you being here. My coaches that were able to make it, both my varsity assistants and my JV assistant coach, thank you much for all the work. Thank you to the district for continuing to support. I'm gonna keep it safe. We're just thank you for everything, and I'm gonna keep talking to people about what more we can use and what we can get done. And any support for the athletes, like Coach was saying, is more than we can ask for, and we need more. We got nearly 1,000 athletes at MHS currently, and they're working hard, and we're trying to turn, and we got good programs going. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a third of our high school population, and I think that would be like 10% of our whole entire K-12, TK-12 population. So it's a very good point. Thank you very much. And next is our wrestling team, which is co-ed, and it's been 18 years since we were at the SVCAL, and we qualified a number of our young women and young men, and also placed in second and first place in some instances. So I would like to ask Coach Clemente and the team to come on up. Clemente.
Okay. So, a couple things. Wrestling is a sport of individuals who come together and practice together and compete as individuals on the mat. But wrestling is also a sport that needs a community behind it in order for it to flourish. And one of our goals at MHS is to grow this program so that next year we'll have 2 middle school programs, hopefully up here with 30 to 40 participants each. Our goal is to grow a community of wrestling here at Milpitas, where our high school kids are supporting all our middle school kids. And so, you know, for anyone out there who has kids that want to try a new sport, please come out, come see us. We have club wrestling starting at Milpitas for the first time ever. And we want to make sure that we're inviting you, the community, to our tournament next year, which was something that we're going to do for the first time ever. So whatever support you guys can give us, we would love, so that we can grow this program and showcase all of these kids' talents and the kind of people that they are. So thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Oh, by the way, these pictures are the pictures of all the our Masters qualifiers. This is a gift to the whole board. You guys can put them up. We've had them sign it. This is all for you guys. So if you guys could find a school board member, just give them a picture. And we just wanted to say thank you guys. There you go. So we have about 11 pictures up here. A couple of kids that couldn't make it, but we had them sign it. So just as a thank you to you for this season, and we appreciate your support.
I love it. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay. Next, I would like to recognize our teachers who have been a part of a very important grant between Santa Clara County Office of Ed, Cross Center for Innovation, and MUSD. And these teachers are pioneers in breaking the strange phenomena that happens around 3rd and 4th grade when girls in particular begin to see themselves as not very good at math and science, which we all know is not true. And not only are they learning that they are very capable and can excel at math and science, but also computer science. And so this is about them becoming young engineers and scientists, and particularly specialists in the area of computer science. So thank you to each of the following teachers for the work that you do to break barriers and also develop pathways. So I'd like to recognize Michael Samisi. If you come on up. Mary Pike. Darshana Dakrikan. Clarissa Bonner. And Maestra Cecilia Carrillo, who has been the lead and has spoken at several conferences now, including those out of state. And I'd also like to thank Director Chen Song for his support of the program, along with our lead of Learning and Development, Preeti Jahari, and their principals. And before everybody goes, I see we have some of the principals from the schools, so if our principals could also join us. Thank you. And as the veteran of this endeavor, I'd like to ask Maestra Carrillo to say a few words.
Well, I just want to say that for the last 3 years that I have been in this program, right, it changed my identity and believing and reinforcing what I believe to be good at math, and what I thought that was not possible, right, that was impossible became possible, especially for my students, right? This is the third generation of students that changing their mindset from the negative attitude that, oh, I am not good at math, to change it into, Maestra, I did it, I can do it, right? I can transfer all the multiple steps, that a word problem that they had to do, and transfer all the information into the Scratch platform, right? To expose my students early enough, right? To the computer engineer path, because we are Silicon Valley, right? So this is my third generation, and Yatsiri, right, is one of the students, one of my Latinas students, that when she finally found the steps to solve the word problem, that she just say, Ms. Carrillo, do I am in the right track? And then I didn't say anything, but I started smiling at her. And then she said, that I'm right? Yes, keep working, right? So they had to work on the contextualization, the abstraction, where they use the critical thinking, right, on solving word problems with more than 3-5 steps. So I feel very proud for being in this program. And then I'm going to present next week. I'm going to Palm Springs to be to the Q conference, and I will be presenting. And I just want to say that I'm here for impacting my students, right, empower them to hopefully many of them follow the path of computer engineer. Thank you. Another one, if possible, that Yatsiri has some words regarding what did you learn and how being in the program, being part of the program, changed your attitude, right, from positive to negative. You can have your paper if you want. I can have it.
Good evening. My name is Yatsiri. During one of the math lessons, finding the solution to the cube strategy took me a long time. When I started working on the math word problem with my group, I struggled to understand what to do first because it had 3 steps. However, I reread the problem and used the cube strategies twice to make sure I was making a logical decision and selecting the right operation to solve the first part, but got stuck. I continued rereading until I understood what to do. Then I solved the second part. I waited for Mrs. Carrillo and asked her if I was on the right track. She smiled at me and said, "You are." Then I continued working with my group, leading the last step of the problem to solve the last part with more confidence. I asked my group to go over with me, and finally we did it. I called Mrs. Carrillo one more time to check my team answers. Smiling at me, she said, "You got it right." After we solved the culturally relevant word problem with this poster, we solved all the steps and transferred all the information to the Scratch platform and did all the coding in both languages. Since that moment, I have developed self-confidence in math and changed my negative attitude to a positive attitude.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Next, we have a group of young people who volunteered and did work at Burnett Elementary School, where they worked in quite high temperatures to support the projects at Burnett. And I would like to invite up Audrey Louie, Braylon Dawson, Vera Louie, Akshat Singh, and also their families and our principal and other staff members from Burnett. And Braylon?
When I first took on this project alone, I must admit that I was not expecting to be standing here today with my fellow students. We all went through struggles during this project, but it was all worth it when I was able to see the reactions of many students on the morning the completed walls were revealed. In that moment, all this time spent in the sun and dread caused by it seemed to fade away. And I must say that Dr. Azrat's reaction was better than I could have ever imagined. Burnett Elementary is like a second home to me, and I believe that I speak for all of us when I say that it's truly amazing that we were able to contribute to making the current students and all those to come smile just a little more on such an amazing campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, as it's School Resource Officer Week, we would like to recognize our School Resource Officer, Mustafa Asefi. And Officer Asefi has been a key part of our MUSD and Milpitas community for quite a number of years, even before COVID. And we're very proud to have you working with our young people and all of our staff. And I'd like to ask you and all of the team to come on up. Thank you. Thank you. And would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Well, thank you guys for your support. Milpitas PD has always been a big partner with the high schools and elementary schools, so we like to work together with the kids, like to make connections with the high school kids and continue that long relationship between Milpitas and the schools in the city. So thank you guys for having us. We appreciate it, and we'll do our best with the continued success.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave, I was at an HR meeting earlier this week, and they were talking about resource officers in schools, and some of the experiences of our HR colleagues across the county was not one that was positive. And I must admit, I spoke up about the work that the Milpitas Police Department has done for our district for over 25 years. We are very grateful to the partnership that we have with all of you, and I just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. And that concludes our recognitions for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. And the next item on our, underneath the superintendent's report is...
Hold on, the superintendent, Jordan. Yeah, go ahead. Are we good?
Good? Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to point out, tell you a little bit about this picture. This is Assistant Principal Ryan Starts and Principal Nancy Pass on reading night at Rose. And as you can see, they're engaging with some of our learners who were excited all day, and they wore pajamas to school that day and came at night, and they had different speakers, including members of our board who read stories. And Ms. Pass was reading a story at this moment about fairy tales. It is a cute one that took all the different fairy tales that we've heard about, such as The Man in the Moon and Running Away with the Spoon, and blending them together. And it was really a great, fun night, and an example of something that when we do these types of activities, it engages our learners and helps to increase our attendance and student engagement. Also, another activity that embraces our community and provides access for well-being is the work of our schooling services team. And Norma Morales, I see, is back there. She's our schooling services supervisor. We also have our schooling services coordinator, Nicole Stewart, and then a number of people who helped out in making this happen. Our family liaison, Claudia, who's right over there, and Director Jeff and Weiss, as well as several other members of the team. And it was a very rainy, cold Saturday morning, but we had a large turnout with people from Cal Hope, with fitness, with mental health support, all kinds of information everywhere from having your teeth checked to having eye vision, and also finding out where do you go if you don't have a doctor and you don't have insurance, what do you do? So these kinds of activities also support our attendance because it provides families who don't have access and don't know how to get access to health care and well-being with a way to do that. So I thank the schooling services team for your work that you did that Saturday. As you can see, since our last report, our average daily attendance across the district as of today is 95.38. And in this next chart, we see what it is per school. And I'd like to point out that Milpitas Middle College High School, as well as Pomeroy Elementary School, had a 97% today. and several schools had 96%, and you can see who they are right there, including Milpitas High School. I'm also, as you know, we've talked about the different ways that we can support all of our programs. One is to look at ways that we can generate revenue. And one of the ways that our team members are becoming really adept at doing is writing for grants. And this is a grant that Principal and Chief Innovator Greg Woolman and Milpitas High School Academy's lead Andrea Hutchison literally decided on Wednesday before it was due that Friday that they would apply for it. It was a grant called the California Career Tech Education Initiative, and they found out about it on that Monday and got it done. And they had some big challenges because they literally lost the application at 4:47 when it was due at 5. But fortunately, they had been speaking with the person at the California Department of Ed, and she said, all right, you can turn it in, but make sure it's in by midnight. So they worked furiously. They had very little that was recovered, and they resubmitted. And they were just informed on Thursday that we were awarded the $2 million, which will go towards supporting a great deal of our MHS extension startup costs, as well as some of the enhancement of the academies that are at Milpitas High School, Maine. I'd also like to point out that Russell Middle School has received the California Schools Distinction this year. This is based on their scores that you can find on the dashboard with their improved academic achievement, as well as improved chronic absenteeism rates and improved discipline outcomes. Then also, this California Model Continuation High School award to Calaveras Hills High School was just announced last week. This is a very lengthy process where the staff works over the course of a year to submit what it is that makes them a model school. And they have been working to move to a signature practice of being a project-based learning school that also incorporates mastery outcomes as their assessments and really focusing on giving rise to student voice. And we have Ariana at the end of the dais, who's a great example of one of our student leaders. Also, under the coaching of Coach Luis Lopez, our Calaveras Hills High School team, again with Ariana on the team, and she scored a basket that I just missed seeing at the final playoff. And they are our champions. So congratulations to them, and we will have them at our next board meeting. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. Item 13, Superintendent's Executive Cabinet's report.
Yep, well, we'll start this time with our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Wendy Zhang.
Thank you. Good evening. I have two quick reports for tonight. And we're currently working on an application with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Services, for an energy credit for our new high school solar project. It was just completed last year. According to the revised Inflation Reduction Act, all tax-exempt entities like us will now qualify for a tax credit and for clean energy-related projects. And according to our consultant, we are the very first school district is going through this process right now. As you know, working with the IRS is not an easy process. I really appreciate Naomi Agraz. She's a volunteer herself to work with me on this. And hopefully, if we can receive any approval from IRS, and we can receive up to 600,000 refunds. So stay tuned on that. And also, Business Services is currently working on the development of the 24-25 budget. It's a collaborative process that involves all school sites and district departments. We will use the governor's January state budget proposal as our guidance and follow the recommendations from school services. We plan to conduct a public budget study on June 11th. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. And let's move on down to our Executive Director of Learning and Innovation, Preeti Jauhari.
Good evening and thank you. We in Learning and Development, in conjunction with Business Services, we're currently in the process of gathering input on the development of our new 3-year local control accountability plan. The development of this plan seeks input from students, teachers, parents, caregivers, classified members, as well as administrators. So far, we have 740 unique respondents. Our goal is to exceed 1,000 unique respondents. I'd like to use this time to ask people to revisit the Parent Square messages, either from your site principal or the superintendent's office that went out this weekend, with links to the LCAP thought exchange and survey. Please make sure that your voice is heard. The feedback will be reviewed by the LCAP Advisory Committee and directly guide the development of the new 3-year strategic plan. Also, you can look for a video coming out this week featuring Student Board Rep Satvika Iyer and myself, produced by Scott Forstner, that was going to provide more information on why your voice matters and links to the survey. Thank you.
Thank you. And Interim Assistant Super of HR, Damon James.
March 23rd is the Santa Clara County Recruitment Fair. Anticipate over 300 potential candidates seeking employment as teachers, speech and language pathologists, nurses, counselors, and psychologists. The event will be held at 9 a.m. until 2 at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We also want to thank all of the employees that participated in the biometric screening last week, and another one is coming soon. I also want to take the time to thank our union leadership for their partnership in dealing with various issues in our district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the Executive Cabinet report.
Thank you, Executive Cabinet Superintendent Jordan. Item 14, Student Board Representatives, Introductions and Reports. This is the part where we introduce our student board representatives. The student board reps report on school and student activities. Reports are limited to 90 seconds each. Taking a quick roll call. Satvika Iyer from Milpitas High School.
Present.
Janice Joy Herodora, please correct me as I pronounce your last name, from Milpitas Middle College.
I'm here. It's Herodora. Sorry.
Thank you. And Ariana Rocha from Calaveras Hills High School.
Here.
Thank you. And we'll start with Satvika.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So the last time we spoke, I talked about the upcoming voter registration, and we actually finished our presentations on February 26th. So it was a joint effort between ASB and our English classes, and we targeted junior and senior English classes to come and listen to a full period of our elections committee talking about how to pre-register, how to vote, and why our vote matters. We had like around 15 minutes of Q&A, and we even got a few people to register later, and our survey showed that 113 people pre-registered after our event, and over 550 students in all came to our event. And we gave out link trees with local voting centers, and I even ran into Ms. Naka at the Milpitas Library Voting Center, and she allowed us to use the physical ballots as a sort of a demonstration for how it works. So hopefully this will continue next year too, and we can keep on educating our students about voting and their voice. One thing that I wanted to say is that our Milpitas High School library is still closed. We have 3,000 kids at our high school, and we are running out of space, and it's just like a waste. Every day, I just walk past by it, and then we have books there that can't be checked out because we don't have our librarian. And then we have this entire room that people could be using, and we did have a functional substitute go in there, but then he got into a science class. So now we have an entire room that could be used for students, but is not. And I know that it requires someone with a library credential for a permanent librarian to be allowed to check out books, but like a quick fix would be having a substitute teacher or even other aides like just be there during lunch so that students can use that space. And also a few updates. Our Vietnamese Student Association is selling tickets for their annual Vietnamese cultural show on April 13th. And we also have Trojan Olympics on March 29th. It'll be in the gym this time. We haven't had that in the gym since 2019. And we extended an invitation to you all to attend too. So it's gonna be great. Also, we had both of our MHS school teams. Winter sports have ended and spring sports have begun, and our teams are doing really well. And another thing for alumni is we're hoping to have a grad cap and gown donation drive, because every year people pay about like $100 for the cap and gown thing, and we should have loaners for people so everyone can walk and it'll be accessible. And then I also wanted to address like the public comment, if I can. Is that okay? I know that it's a sensitive subject, and even the facts can be misconstrued, but that comment is the reason why we need some sort of education in our classes too about like what's going on. I know it's hard and that we can't really take a side without promoting like something like that, but it's a humanitarian crisis, and what that stuff is something that we have to avoid, obviously, but I feel like we could take a stand about something. So, thank you.
Thank you, Savika. Next, Janice from Milpitas Middle College.
Good morning, everyone. So, for the middle college, this Friday, March 15th, our students will be visiting UC Santa Cruz. Our alumni, Mira Bakta, will be giving us a tour of some of their engineering labs. Students will also be participating in a beach cleanup as part of our seniors' community impact projects. And we have also received a lot of applications for our fall 2024 semester. It will still be open till March 31st for those who are still interested. And multiple orientations will be hosted. The first one will be on next Monday, March 18th at 6 p.m. for new students and parents joining us next school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Next, we have Ariana from Calaveras High.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here with some Calaveras Hills updates. Our open house is Thursday, so come by and see our project-based learning classwork and enjoy some dinner and dessert vendors. Our contracts and grad planning is in the works, and the end of our third quarter will end next week. Last Friday, we had our student-driven soccer tournament with 4 other alternative high schools where we came in second place. We didn't win, but we still tried our best. And we won our basketball tournament as well. We won our championships undefeated. And I also want to make a comment about the funds for sports. Like it was commented earlier from the Milpitas High School wrestling coach. We don't have transportation all the time, and we usually have to take like car loads, and I feel like that's not necessarily safe or needed. I think we should be able to have a bus for each time we have like games out of our home. So I want you guys to think about that. And our college night is getting prepared for April 25th, And today we went to De Anza field trip where we learned about their automotive program and their manufacturing specialty program. And also, April 5th is our career day, so come by and support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariane. As far as your open house this Thursday, what time does that start?
Open house.
Oh, open house?
Yeah.
Say that again, please.
What time does your open house start?
Oh, it starts at 7.
7. Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's 5:15. My apologies. That's the time it ends. It ends at 7, starts at 5:15. So come
Got
by.
it.
Thank you. Moving to item 15, board group agreements. In essence of time, we will forgo the reading of the board group agreements and move to item 16, board communication requests. This is the part of the agenda where school board members have the opportunity to report on their activities as elected officials. School board members may request the placement of items in future board agenda, relay information from the community, or request information from staff. Reports are limited to 90 seconds each. And we'll start with board member Norwood.
Since our last board meeting, I've attended the CSBA AI Task Force in Sacramento, the Metro Ed board meeting, attended the Santa Clara County Office of Education Alternative Education meeting to learn about what we're doing with Justice Engaged Youth. Santa Clara County, met with the Santa Clara County Office of Sustainable Housing to understand what we're doing with our McKinney-Vento families, how they're getting housing. Attended Alex Lee's Black History Month at Bible Way Christian Center, Rocanas Town Hall, the City of Milpitas Economic Development Trade Commission meeting, Silicon Valley Joint Venture State of the Valley Index to understand what we're doing financially in this region, Masters of Governance Training on School Finance, Rose Reading Night, and then of course the MHS or MUSD Resource Fair at the Innovation Campus.
Thank you, board member Norwood. Board member Jean.
Thank you. So my top 3, I served on the community committee for interviewing for the chancellor position at San Jose Evergreen College District. I participated in the Santa Clara School Boards Association committee on the standard care for McKinley-Vento students. And this past Saturday, I attended the Santa Clara School Boards Association legislative brunch this Saturday. I do want to make a request for us to take a look at a study session, specifically on our mental health strategy for our students. Just trying to get an understanding a little bit for my education. What's our caseload? How are we making impacts onto attendance behavior as well as learning outcomes? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, board member Jean. Board clerk Naka.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Women History Month to all the women leaders and the community at large. And I did attend the Sunny Hills Neighborhood Association breakfast event, wherein our superintendent Jordan and several other board members got to present their presentation on Innovation Campus. And I did attend the Rotary Speech Contest, wherein many students from our high school did participate, and it's a mind-boggling experience. They did an amazing job than previous years, I must say. And I did attend some of the chamber meetings and the Rotary meetings as well. And I am a huge believer of civic engagement. So the elections that Satvika was talking about, it's a great turnout from our MHS students, the seniors and the juniors, and it makes a great impact. And we did have a lot of registrations, and thank you, Satvika, for coordinating all that. And that concludes my report. Thank you, President No.
Thank you, board clerk Naka. Vice President Yashwan.
Good evening, everyone. My assignment, I went to the Milpitas High School Lunar Show, City School Collaborative meeting, the Sunny Hills Breakfast meeting, the Rotary Speech Contest, and the School Board Legislative Brunch meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Yashwan. Go ahead, Trustee Norwood.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back on something earlier, making a request for some of the public comments that we heard earlier today about full-time PE teachers, the need for tech. Thank you for that happening at Rancho, health clerk, and then also sports staffing and equipment. I asked the superintendent to look into if there are any strategies that we could come up with as far as funding for these programs or these needs in the future, and you can come back to us with the appropriate time.
Thank you, Trustee Norwood. As for myself, I also attended the City School Collaborative, attended the meeting with our San Jose City College Extension, also attended the Milpitas Little League opening day and the CSBA School Boards Association meeting. Moving on to item 18, item 17, reports. As far as reports, we will hear the presenters present. As a form of procedure, after the presenters present, we will open it up to public comments, and after public comments, the board will deliberate. So item A, learning development, the Randall World Language School Program Report.
Thank you. This evening, we can clap for them. And please, this evening I'm honored to invite the entire Randall team. Come on up. I know we have multiple presenters here today. And this work is really part of our ongoing continuous improvement cycle. So the Randall team will be presenting on specifically updates to their enrollment processes as well as academic programming in the areas of language arts and math. So take it away.
All right. All right, good evening. Thank you for inviting us to present tonight. We're going to talk about our journey to success. I couldn't have a better example, but what's you heard earlier and what's standing behind me. The immersion program is a desired program in our community. Our enrollment continues to grow. Our academic programming continues to grow. We're going to share some of the highlights about both of those things with you really quickly. What you see in the picture are some of our superstars. We don't exactly teach adults, but hopefully when those little guys who look like they're 100 in that corner are here, we'll have adults. All right, so moving on. I need slide switch. Okay, thank you. All right, so for perspective, 3 years ago, we had 4 TK students. This year, we have a full class of 23. One moved out of the area. And we already have 18 TK enrollments in the process. So for perspective, that is huge, the last couple of years. What you see here highlighted are where we see some of our growth to get our enrollment numbers where they will be ready to support 7th and 8th grade returning to Randall. We are super thrilled that these numbers continue to climb. And also going to point out that enrollment for us is not limited to the youngest students. We enrolled a 4th grader, a 3rd grader, and a 1st grader in the last 7 days. So just for us, it's a year-round process. But we're small but mighty and not so small anymore, as at least it's feeling like. All right, so moving on, next slide.
In relation to our journey to success, I think enrollment is a big asset for us. Definitely the new building we have brings a lot of attention, but the new building is nothing without our wonderful staff here. They're the ones that do day in and day out the work. And teachers, when they're good teachers, they're noted, and parents spread the word. I think the other good asset we have in our school is the parent word-to-word. They have brought families here from other parts of the city, from parts of Silicon Valley. We have enrollment from San Jose, from Berryessa, even from Morgan Hill, that come and commute, parents that work here and bring their students in here. You've all seen our great performers with the mariachi, and that brings a lot of students too, and a lot of parent interest. So you've seen that we've presented many times, and when we present, every time that we present, we have parents saying, hey, where are the students from? And we say, here, from Randall. So those are some of the things that are key points. Definitely Mandarin program has been an asset. We've had the question of, oh, are you pretending, or are you planning to have a Mandarin program like full Mandarin? No, this is a dual immersion program. Spanish and Mandarin is an added language, but we're getting there. We're bringing people interest in our school. Next, please.
All right, when talking about our growth in academic programming, one of the areas, our focus area this year has been in math. This is a district-wide need. We're not unique in that, but for Randall, it is absolutely our equitative imperative for our students and who we serve. We've done a significant amount of work through MTSS with the County Office of Ed and our Learning and Development team. Great support there. Our leadership team has strategized on their PLC work with each other. We do weekly PLCs, and we use different data drivers, as we call them, to guide our reteaching and really talk about differentiation of our core teaching instruction. And I wanted you to hear from somebody who actually makes that happen. She is not only a member of our leadership team, she is a rock star young lady who teaches 3rd grade for us. And she can talk about a little bit of those and just kind of share her experience with what MTSS actually looks like when it's not just a crazy acronym that we put on our work. So Jennifer Diaz, one of our 3rd grade teachers.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we work during our PLC. During our PLC time, teachers come together. They're very open from learning from one another. This year, we are focusing on improving our math proficiencies, specifically with our English language learners. So the 3rd and 4th grade team had decided to focus on the assessment of pre and post math chapter tests to have a more strategic plan for this year. And therefore, we meet weekly, like Ms. Prolo said, and we analyze our data. So from our data, we discuss what are the next best steps for our students, whether that's small group differentiated instruction, whether that's more complex tasks for our students. But at the end of the day, we come together as a team during our PLCs to put our students in the forefront and continue to help them grow, specifically in our math instruction.
One very important piece during the PLCs and during our staff meeting is creating, planning, and organizing during and after school interventions. We have a very robust set of interventions that are provided either by teachers. We have some of the teachers here that provide the intervention. Ms. Cecilia Carrillo has a group, and we have during the day over here our grade para that provides not only intervention during the day, but also after school. She provides literacy intervention during the day for grades 1st through 2nd. And she's a key component working with our TOSA, Daisy Gonzalez, that was provided by us, our former teacher, but provided us by LND. And they plan and program everything that has to do with the newcomers, because we have a big population of newcomers from South America and Central America. Ms. Ruiz is a key factor because she's the one that not only assesses the students when they come to our program, but also is the one that determines with us, of course, what are the needs of the students and how are we going to be supporting them. One big component we have is Jose Valdez, the summer program that we started last year. Last year we had 25 students. Again, LND provided us with the money to support our students, and we got a grant from them. This year we're moving on from 25 students to 40 students, and also we are using our ACES grant to do this year, providing bus transportation, food, and we are inviting also Rose to come with us. So it's going to be not only us, but Rose as the other school.
All right, so moving on, next slide, please. Thank you. All right, this is the good stuff. So we've talked a little bit about enrollment and our numbers. What we're going to look at a little bit is something that this has very much been a celebration for us. We know these charts and we know them well. We've presented them at all of our parent meetings, all of our staff meetings, all of our county meetings. I will say we're not done yet, but just in a single year, we grew 12% in math alone for students who met or exceeded the standard. Not only is that amazing, but if you look at the percentage of students who went from standard not met, there was a significant decrease of just under 20% of those students moved to nearly met standard. So the positive is the orange, which means they've not met the standard. They're level 1, so they're more than a year behind, has moved into that nearly met, so they're probably within a year. We don't want them in yellow, but the fact that a year ago they were significantly behind and now they're close, and then we have so many more students that are at or above standards in just one calendar year. This is why we celebrate it with our families, and our families have said they have seen this in their students. You heard from Yatsiri about her confidence in, I can do math. We talk math. We believe in math. We are mathematicians. That is not dependent on your gender or your ethnicity. And so when data like this comes to us, we actually heard about it first from some outside sources. We celebrate this because the work that these ladies and one gentleman on our staff do with us, we have to recognize because this is phenomenal. So to put it in perspective, next slide, please. If we want to kind of look at Randall's a school of one in Milpitas. We are the only multilingual school that educates students in 3 languages, not 2 anymore, 3. And so in order to kind of try to find an apples to apple comparison, we looked at a school in Alum Rock whose population is very similar to ours. Their enrollment numbers are very similar to ours. Their program has been in existence for only a year longer than ours. And really trying to compare the 2 programs, trying to look for what are, comparison. What is it? Is it working? Is it not working? And when you look, we have really outperformed, the closest sister school to the same that serves the same students that we serve. So when we look at this, we say, we're not done yet. But when you look at those of us who work at sites that serve the students who need the most support and this very targeted support, you have to look at the comparison and go, all right, we're getting there. We call this, this is our journey to success. It's not about being at the destination yet, but when we look at how the orange compares and it's shrinking for us, and looking at, other populations that are quite literally 4.5 miles from us, I mean, they're awfully physically close. We like to think that we're on the right path, and it's one of the reasons working with our leadership team that we are continuing to do this work because we are starting to see some of these outcomes. So, thankfully, it's not necessarily related just to math. Next slide.
ELA for us is very important because, as you may know, our students begin reading and writing in Spanish in TKK. They have all the foundational skills that build on their foundational skills to transfer in English language arts. So English language arts for us in 3rd grade becomes a big thing. And that's why we say that the best teachers in bilingual programs need to be in 3rd grade. And of course, but 3rd grade is crucial. So if you can see, we have a 13 growth from last year to this year. You see that the numbers are shrinking. That's what we want to see. We see more numbers in 2022, 2023. We see more students in the green and in the blue. We know we're not there yet, but we are celebrating that we're moving, and we're moving step by step, and we're moving students from one brand to the other. Next, please. Again, we're comparing, like Kristen said, our school to our school that is similar in our program. Again, Alum Rock Adelante Language Academy. And we're comparing this program particularly because we see that we're increasing in the right direction. Now, why again the same school? Because we share similar demographics and similar population. It's very easy to compare schools within the same district, but they're not in the same program, yeah, and we need to keep that in mind. Learning a language, in our case, takes to from 5 to 6 years in an academic way. So that more or less shows what we're doing right now. It's gonna take not to 5 to 6 years. It's been taking, this is my 3rd year. I know it's Kristen's 5th year. And for some of the teachers we have here, we have one of the founders here, Adelina, but we're going and we're moving in the right directions. And we wanna also thank the support of L&D that has believed in us and has trusted what we've been doing this past years. Next.
One analogy I just wanted to share with you that I've shared with the staff, and I can't take credit from this. It was in a leadership book that I read. When we talk about melting ice cubes, if an ice cube starts at 25 degrees, you're not going to get it to 32 degrees and get that magical melt. An ice cube starts melting when you get it from 25 degrees to 26, 26 to 27. None of us notice when that happens. It isn't until our drink is watered down and we're like, ugh, you know, we've hit past 32 degrees. We, as a staff, are moving students in a way that, unless you're looking really carefully, you might miss that degree of change. And it is going to take us a little bit longer until we hit that magical melting point. Or in education, we talk about the hockey stick. It's a real slow grow, and all of a sudden you hit that point and it just takes off. Our kids are close, and we know it. We know they're close. So yeah, we're melting ice. We're getting hot. We're on a journey. We're getting there. And I cannot wait. I'm actually I hate to say this out loud, kind of looking forward to state testing this year. I'm actually looking forward to the results because I really am confident in the work that these ladies and gentlemen on our staff are doing with our kids to see this double-digit growth again, to hear from our sister schools that they want to know what we're doing. When we get together with, we call them our compadres, other administrators from dual language programs, they are asking, how did this happen? Because we do stand out, because as you saw from the numbers, they're not seeing similar results. So our next steps is our enrollment. Our parents are the most phenomenal recruiters you could ever ask. A lot of times, you know, the parent will start the conversation, and then as you hear a little elbow, like, tell them what you do at school. We are working with, again, our businesses, our religious organizations, our private bilingual schools, our own CDC. I've had the benefit of being at some of these community events with some of you in various forms of ceremonial dress, which has been a lot of fun, except for the one that was in the pouring rain. And as my partner said, every time our students perform, our folklorical group goes out, we know we have to send flyers with them because people want to know where these students are going to school and, you know, who they are and where they're learning this language. So for us, enrollment is an ongoing thing. As I said, we've had those students enrolled even, you know, in the last 7 days. And I think we have one that starts Monday, another one coming Monday. And that's not including the fall enrollment. For academic programming,
this is I think it's our backbone. The academic programming needs to go hand in hand with the enrollment. If we have a sustained focus with math, I think we're getting there. That's going to continue this year. I'm not saying that we're not going to continue next year. We see that literacy is also something that we need to work, because we have a wide group of students that are coming from South America and Central America that have no schooling. Thus, literacy becomes an important matter. We're going to continue expanding, like I said before, Jose Valdez. Our teachers and their leadership is so important because they're the ones that are there in the trenches day to day, analyzing data, meeting during PLCs, and looking at the data that is fresh from the exit tickets and the iReady benchmarks that they're taking. So like I said before, I know we're not there yet. We have a lot to do, but I think we have done a lot already, okay? So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any public comments? Scott, do we have any public comments online?
We have no online public comment at this time.
Seeing there are no public comments, board members, student board reps, any questions, comments?
Yeah, the research typically shows that when you're in a dual immersion or bilingual school, that you really don't start to see the data in testing until later, because the kids are really young, and the translation, trying to manage two languages to be able to understand the comprehension and testing, but the dots start to click around, you know, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. So when I look at this data, thank you for sharing that and presenting it as an apples to apples scenario. But I didn't see the aggregate in terms of where are you seeing the growth in terms of your students overall in your data. Is it 3rd grade? You know, what is making this jump happen, or is it all the grades you're seeing it across all grades?
Great question. Most of the growth we see, like you said, if we go back to the data ELA math, most of the growth is happening between 3rd and 4th, then becomes a little bit flat, and then grows again back in 6th grade. Yeah, why? Because of the transfer of the two languages, Spanish into English, happens in 3rd. 4th is very robust. 5th grade is a very difficult grade. Those that remember being in 5th grade, it's tough. It's very tough. And then 6th grade, they already manage the concepts, and they move up to 6th. Yep. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also one other quick question: what grade levels is the Jose Valdez program?
Oh, we are targeting 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th, though 7th is going to go and 6th is going to go, but we want to send them prepared for the next school year.
And if you can share quickly what that is with folks that may not know what the Jose
Jose Valdez is an organization that provides math intense tutoring during summer and during the year too. Last year we were able to secure a grant for our students. It's around $1,500 per student, but they provided us a grant, and so we only paid $350 per student. Last year, because we used the ELOP funds provided by L&D, we were able to fund 25 students, and we're tracking those students. Those students either stayed or advanced in their grades and in their iReady quarterly scores. So definitely is something that we want to continue doing. We're continuing the partnership, and parents are already asking. We said we were going to start in February. Things have happened, like some co-principals teaching here, so things are getting a little bit late, but they're going to be there by the end of March. We are already going to have a roster with students that are going to be based on two criteria. One is going to be the iReady, and the other one is going to be teacher recommendation.
And our students get up at 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning to go.
Yeah, what happens, it's a whole day thing. Thank you for that. I forgot that. They start the day at 8. This time they're going to Mission College, and then they spend the whole day there until 5. A bus picks them up and then brings them here. And this time we're going to go with our sister college, with our sister school, which is Rose.
They do. The bus picks them up here early in the morning, takes them for 8 hours, brings them back, and it's 4 intensive weeks.
Now, one thing that is important to remember, for some of you, it might say, oh, yeah, that's great, but you need to remember the culture and the demographics that we're serving. It's not pretty easy for some of our parents to let our students just go on a bus without Ms. Cadenas or Ms. Prolo or Ms. Carrillo or Ms. Vargas there, or Ms. Ruiz, or Ms. Diaz. No, it was a work that we had to do one by one. Everything is gonna be okay. Ms. Cadenas, can you ride the bus the first day? I will ride the bus the first day, because we had to sell the program to them. This is new to them. They were going to be out of college. They were not going to be here. It was not going to be a typical summer program. So that's something else that parents really like, the way that this program was led, where they're going to be there. They're going to be starting being independent, and some of them want that, but some others are not ready yet.
have two questions. Because you just talked about the Valdez program. My question in terms of the Valdez program is, instead of, I don't know what was the cohort that you sent in the summer, but I would like to explore the question, is it possible for the Valdez instructors to come to you instead of us sending the core group there?
It's funny that you asked the question because I asked the same questions because I know my people. I know my people wanted to be here at the barrio with everyone. And so what Bob, I don't remember the name, do you remember Mr. Norwood? Bob, well, one of the...
Escobar.
Yes, Bob Escobar. He said, Claudia, we want the students to start getting ready to the idea that they're going to college.
Okay.
They need to experience that going independently to a place where they don't know anybody, they might not be with their friends, but they're going to be okay having different teachers, having different paraprofessionals, and having a different scenario that is not Milpitas. For your surprise, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised, some of them have never left here.
All right.
They know here the Great Mall, they might know here maybe the mountains, but this is their area, and that's the way it is. It's not only our community, the community in other places that I've worked has been the same, and they're very protective. That's why, and I totally agree with that now, but before I was not very happy. Yep.
Okay. And my second question actually relates to the data. First of all, I want to congratulate you and your team for making the jump both in math as well as ELA. The question I have actually takes it a little bit back, and I'm going to take out the folks that are just immigrants coming into your school. I'm looking at the core set of students that starts at TK and going through kindergarten. I guess my question is, how much are we investing enough in programs to ensure that those kids who start with us at TK or kindergarten are truly ready for kindergarten, so they're not behind at kindergarten, first grade or second grade or third grade, right? So I love the interventions. They're great, but wouldn't it be better if we didn't have to do the interventions? So I'd like to understand that.
So you're asking about a preschool program before
I'm
they get to us
asking-
in kinder? Because
I'm
we have
asking
TK,
for-
which we're awfully
Right.
proud of.
I'm asking, is there other programs that we should be investing in to ensure that the kids are ready at each of the grade levels, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, so that we're not behind?
I would love it, Mr. Jung, if you could start a preschool 3-year-old program, but then tell them we'll take them at 4. We do get some kids from the bilingual preschools. You want to create another. I'm not sure I know how to answer that question because the students who come to us. We can disaggregate the data by the date they arrived, the grade in which they arrived, what is their home-based language? Did they attend school in their native country? Did they not? We can take all of that apart, but to give you a single answer of we can do this to make this difference, I'm uncomfortable saying there's a one-size-fits-all for students.
Right.
One of the reasons we lean very heavily on Ms. Ruiz is we talk about language learners based on levels, like level 1, but a level 1 English language learner is very different than a newcomer.
Sure.
But they are technically both level 1 language learners. But for us at Randall, those are not the same students, nor do they receive the same intervention. So I'm trying to answer your question without really knowing that there is. I mean, I've been in education with language learners long enough that I think I would love to do away with interventions. I would love it if all of my 4-year-olds walked through the door and they spoke Spanish, English, and Mandarin on top of the 10% who speaks another language at home. Because keeping in mind, 10% of our students come to us speaking neither Mandarin, Spanish, or English, which we're very proud of. Will we ever get to a non-intervention place? Having taught at the neediest schools and the wealthiest schools as a teacher, we all had interventions. And I will cautiously argue that sometimes interventions are pushing a student who already walks in knowing the data. So I don't know if that gives you the answer kind of that you're looking for. I mean, again, you want to start a 2- and 3-year-old preschool? Let's talk. I'm sure there's a facility down the street, you know.
Thank you.
To Trustee Jung's question, let me reframe it for him. The assessment you do for your new incoming students, does that differ from a regular non-dual immersion school?
No, it's the same assessment. In fact, we use the same curriculum and the same program. It only changes the language. We're requiring from our students the same foundational skills that our SCI schools would have. Yeah, I just want to point one thing. Let's not forget the place where we are in terms of the demographics and the students we serve. Let's keep in mind that there's a reason why our students come with such a wide gap. Do we need more programs before TK? Yes, we do. Do we have access to them? Not always. That's why we have all this robust system of interventions that we've created, not us, but our teachers and our PLCs. That's what they intend. We have different tiers of systems of supports. We have the tier 1 system at the classroom level, the tier 2 system, which would be our Señora Mercedes here, and the tier 3 would be the teacher-led. So that's why you see that variety. It's not that we just want to spend time with interventions, it's that we need to bridge that gap. If we compare, that's why we wanted to compare our students to schools that are similar to us, because if we compare our school with other schools at different sites here, our students are like this. Our students grow this, the other students grow this, but we still don't see the growth, yeah? And I think we've talked about that before. But I see your point. Now, just remember that intervention not necessarily means that the students are behind, because we provide intervention too for students that we want to challenge, and we want to for them to go the extra mile. Yeah.
Sure.
And to follow through on that other question, as far as the assessment, through this work, and what do you see as far as any improvements to the assessment for a dual language immersion or world immersion school?
So the assessment for us is the same assessment that all 9 of our sister schools use. We just do it in both languages. So when a student comes to us, we are assessing them EDL2, DRA, iReady. iReady comes in both languages now. So those assessments are the same. We just hit them over the head twice with it, once in English and once in Spanish. We assess students who want to come to us for 2nd semester, 1st grade and up, because they have to have a certain capacity at both of those languages to be able to be in the program and be successful. TK through 1st semester of 1st grade, we do not use an assessment as an entry point to the program, because we know research shows that at that point they're not behind, they can catch up in a dual language environment. But like for a 4th grader who just joined us, we use the same assessment all of our sister schools do, and it's a basic literacy assessment that I used even with my English only students to see what is their instructional level, what is their independent level, you know, is it DRA 50, is it DRA 32? EDL2 is the Spanish version of DRA, so it's the same literacy, we just do it both.
And in terms of iReady, math it's a very good tool that we use. iReady, we give it in Spanish from TK through 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th is in English. And then iReady in English, we give it to our students from 3rd through 7th. TK through 2nd, they use Benchmark Adelante, which is our program. We're not using iReady in Spanish because it's not a good tool, and we have the capacity. We've talked with iReady folks about that, and they're working on it, and they even want to start a field study here with our school, because being the need that we have. Did we answer your question?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Kristen, can you just explain DRA? I'm not sure everybody knows what that stands for. Developmental.
It's developmental reading assessment, and EDL2 would be the same, but in Spanish. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, like, what are you guys doing for the Mandarin side? I know you just added that, and what are you doing to attract, to increase your enrollment for Mandarin speakers?
One of the challenges that we have had with the addition of Mandarin is the misperception that we have a Mandarin immersion program. So we've had to be a little more intentional in our language around that. Our students in TK and Kinder are getting the Mandarin exposure. Again, our parents have been phenomenal recruiting. The new video, which you guys actually got to see before I got to see, is up on our website. And even Yatsiri's younger brother is in kindergarten, and it turns out one of his Mandarin teachers is a parent of, small world, one of the wrestling students, and little Ian walked right up to her and greeted her in Mandarin. And they are a Spanish-speaking household, and you heard Yatsiri present in perfect English. For us, events such as Lunar New Year. What other events have we been to? I feel like I've been to a whole bunch of events. A lot of times it's just answering questions about what Mandarin is for us, and we explain to parents that it is an exposure. We already have students here who speak Mandarin. We have the most beautiful, teeniest, tiny TK. We've had her two older brothers, who was the shyest, quietest thing that you were afraid a gust of wind was going to blow away. And she has absolutely blossomed now that she has her native language. She has become the model leader with her peers in Mandarin, similarly to what we see with the kids with their Spanish and their English. So for us, it's just the word is out there. People know about it. It's just making sure that when parents choose our program that they understand that they're not enrolling in Mandarin immersion, that it's a Mandarin exposure. We are still Spanish immersion. The only complaint we have had about that is from our upper grade students and parents, is they want to know when the club starts, when they get to learn it. So that is actually one of our next steps. Even our parents have asked if they can learn as well. And we've had some chats with our Mandarin instructors about what that potentially could look like for our upper grade students and even our adults, because it is a global language. I'd love to learn it on top of being a language learner myself. But again, for us, the word is out. I think we've done a great job as a district. So,
And next year, we're going to have first graders, because this year we have TKK. Next year is going to be TKK first. So, but going back to your question, it has attracted more people, but we need to be very clear that our program is a bilingual program, Spanish bilingual program, and we have an added language that is Mandarin, right? Because that's what we really want to portray as a world languages school, okay?
So when you say exposure, like how much exposure?
It's 10%.
10%.
So
okay.
let's say TKK, it's 10% in English, 10% in Mandarin through arts and through physical education, and then the rest is 80% in Spanish. Yep.
Got it. Thank you so much.
In your appendix, you have the model of the breakdown of the percentages across the year, across the three languages in the appendix.
And there's a graph there that says 80, 10, 10, because we were before 90, 10, 90 Spanish, 10 in English. That's when you start in TKK. Now it's called 80 Spanish, 10 English, 10 Mandarin. That's our model now, okay?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I had a quick question, right? I went to a Catholic school. I attended one, and the dual immersion that you were talking about way back when I studied, I felt the same thing, like the 5th grade that you see, the flat thing. Why is that so? Anything that you can think of to improve on the techniques, if I may?
As a former 5th grade teacher, I never did, even in an English-only monolingual setting, we always saw the dip in 5th. My team that I taught with, and even when I moved to 6th grade, there is a jump in standards. There's also a jump in social emotional growth, puberty kind of starts to take over at that point. Language development, what we know about brain development in that age group, that is kind of officially when tween starts. If you've had one, I'm sorry, you'll survive it, I promise. But I will say, as an experienced educator who taught and loves 4, 5, 6 across the district, I've been in Milpitas for a while, that it's not language-based, it's not school-based. Again, I was at schools that had far more means than some of our students do, and we saw that dip in 5th and then 6th. And I will tell you, when you teach 6, you kind of want to pat yourself on the back and say, all right, I did it. But it happens across the district. Our kiddos are no different. I mean, they just, if I could have answered that, it would have probably saved me a lot of stress as a teacher.
Right.
I will say testing fatigue is very significant for our 5th graders. So for perspective, our 5th graders, if they are language learners, have taken LPAC already. They are getting ready to take the physical fitness test here in 2 weeks. And then about 3 weeks after that, our students will start with the English language arts test. Then they will take the math test. Our 5th graders will then take the science test. And then our 5th graders will take the California Spanish assessment. That will take them till late May. So by the time our 5th graders get done, they will start testing in February and essentially not be done until May. The loss of that instructional time by state mandated test is also something that we can't negate with our students. The science test is no joke. It takes some time. Whether that contributes to it or not, it's just a guess. But when our 5th grade students, we said again, 7th and 8th have those additional assessments. I wish I could have answered it, but having taught now at 4 schools in Milpitas Unified.
I know, I always wondered myself, right? There was a dip
I don't know.
in my own,
I think if you can solve that, we're going to be millionaires.
I know,
We're gonna have to run
for
a school.
sure.
We'll be all good.
I agree.
Well, thank you, board members, for your questions and comments. Thank you, Randall team, for your report. Really do appreciate the updates. As you see, very invested as far as the success of the World Languages School in the community. So thank you again. Next item, 17B, Superintendent's Office, review draft of the MUSD Build a Culture We Governance Handbook.
Thank you, President No, and thank you, Randall team. Mr. Forster, would you please put the final draft of the MUSD Board Governance Handbook up? So as you can see, this is, thank you very much, Mr. Forster, for formatting and assisting with going through and making sure that we don't have typos and et cetera. But this is the finalized version of what the board and I discussed at our board superintendent retreat that we held a couple weeks back. So we just present it tonight for the board to peruse and have any additional conversation that you would like to have about it. And also let us know if there's any other changes that are needed.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. We do have a speaker card on this particular item. Michelle Egret.
Thank you. So I reviewed your handbook, and I know that you were all involved in doing your draft and so forth. But when I spoke earlier, one of the items that I spoke about was on page 15, and it was regarding number 6 and 7, as far as when people are to speak regarding something that is on the agenda and when they are to speak when something's not on the agenda. That is what I spoke about earlier tonight. I did not at any time speak ill of our students. I was commenting on the board and their processes, which is what your handbook outlines. So I just want to make that clear that I would never speak ill of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other public comments? Scott, any online?
No more public comments at this time.
Board members, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to thank the board for working on actually bringing this, the governance handbook, updating it. It hadn't been updated for many, many years in the district. Know it was a collective effort of everybody sharing their thoughts and making sure that we set the direction in writing so that when we have the opportunities for our public to see where things may happen, that they can call them out accordingly, because I think that's what it's all about. When we have things documented so that we can follow, when the parents have the parent handbook, they can follow, when the executive cabinet and staff, they have the LCAP that they can follow, each of us having governing principles and documentation that folks can refer to. I think that's a very important part of our work, and I'm glad and I'm proud of the fact that we put this back together. I think it, as our Rev 1, I think that there's still more work to be done, but we'll continue to build on this for years to come. So thank you all for participating in that, including the superintendent and the others that we'll share with. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Norwood. Any other comments?
I'm also like to echo my appreciation as a team. We work together on this. Gives us a kind of the, as Mr. Norwood indicated, kind of a starting point that this gives us something that we can use to constantly improve as a team. And I appreciate everyone's input and effort in making this happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Any other comments?
I would definitely like to thank all the inputs and, the collective effort of the team, because when I was new here on the board, I was kind of asking, back then, our, immediate past president, Norwood, about what to expect, what my role would be, and is there anything that can point me for the inputs, right? So this definitely would be helpful going forward for any new board members who would be potentially coming in and joining us. So thank you for that, for the entire team.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I do echo the sentiments too. And this handbook, it shows how we work together as a governance team, our roles and our responsibilities. So it's here. We have something to reference to. So I appreciate the time spending working together in this handbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Yevshwan. With that said, I echo the comments of my fellow board members. If there are no requests for changes or updates, I think we will move on. Thank you. Item 18, action items. A, Business Services, certify the 2023-2024 compensation disclosure of the California School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 281, Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Yes, before the board approved the tentative agreement, we're required to do a financial disclosure. Let me share my screen so I can walk you through the document. And this is a similar process as we did with MTA. And here is our disclosure. And we also, in our board agenda, we also attached a tentative agreement on compensation, just as a backup. And this is a standardized spreadsheet that's provided by our county office. And this is for 23-24 school year. The salary schedule increase, ongoing 3%. We also have a 3% off schedule payment. And the 3% salary schedule ongoing will be retroactive July 1, 2023. And we also agreed on a $100 medical cap increase effective January 1, 2024. And then here is the cost for each year. And then This page is a summary of the financial impact, it lists only for current year. And later on, I'm going to present our second interim budget update. We have also included this in our multi-year projection. And the cost of the changes of the reflect this settlement is reflected in the middle column here. The total other adjustment is about 1.5 million for the current year. And currently, we have sufficient reserve to cover for this settlement. And that concludes this disclosure. Any questions?
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Wendy. Are there any public comments on this particular item?
We have no public comment at this time.
All right. Board members, any questions? Seeing there are no questions, do I have a motion to certify the compensation disclosure?
Motion to certify.
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The compensation disclosure unit is certified. Item 2, accept the 2023-2024 second interim report and submit a positive financial certification to the Santa Clara County Office of Education.
Yes, this is our second major budget update. Let me share my screen again so I can quickly walk you through the documents in the agenda. So in the board agenda, you will see.
Not yet.
Any questions?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we have this SACS report. It's the state standardized accounting standard account string, and every major budget update, we have this form attached, and it lists each fund, the financial summaries. And then we also have our income statement. Our income statement is more like our version of the state form, and we just have a summary of income, revenue and expenditures of each fund listed here, so you can have just a glance view of each fund. And then this is our multi-year projection worksheet. And later on, I will just cover some of the highlights in my presentation. And this is kind of the standardized worksheet we have been using for many years. And we also did reconciliation, compare the changes between the second interim versus the first interim. So we listed by each major object code here, just for you to reference. And this A1, A2, the reference is go by the SACS form, that from the first attachment. And then I also have a short presentation just to cover some of the highlights. Scott, I think maybe easier, I will just do at the podium. The sticker here. I have the clicker here. So as I shared earlier, the second interim is just our second major update and compared to the first interim we did. And the purpose of the second interim is just a snapshot of the district financial condition as of based on the actual from January 31st. And we're required to do a certification. And there are 3 types of certification for the interim report. And the first one is, well, I'm just going to talk then because you will see that in my presentation. It's also the presentation is a part of the board agenda. And so the first type is is a positive. So that's what we're looking for. That means the district is able to meet our financial obligations for the current and the 2 subsequent years. And then there is also negative. And so the negative is the one we don't want to get there. The negative certification means that the district is unable to meet its financial obligations. And we're using the data as of January 31st to do our projection for this year. Okay. See. Can you make it like a presentation slides? See if there. Oh, it looks a little bit weird, but it's okay. Okay, then maybe you run a slide. So next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. Okay, so our total general fund revenue is about 168 million. You can see that 71% is from LCFF, local control funding formula. That's our largest income source. And we receive some grants funding from the federal and the other state. This other state, 21.7 million, we had majority of them is actually from the carryover from last year. And our special education funding, 8.6 million. And under the local, we had about 1.5 million is from our parcel tax. The transfer in basically is transfer in from our building fund and also strategic reserve fund. The building fund is just a routine 1.4 million. We transfer in every year for the rental lease income and the plus interest earned. Next slide, please. And here's our general fund expenditure, total about 190 million. And we listed here all certificated staff salary and benefit is about 95 million, so it's about 50% of the total budget. And classified employee, about 16%. And administrators, this is basically all certificate and classified administrators. And see, Suzette, I think you will appreciate this slide because I took your recommendation from the last time. And they would like to see just the segregation of the management from the certificate and classified group. So that way, and overall, you can see the total salary and the benefit for each sort of like a bargaining group. And then the supplies, 24 million. We're not going to fully spend the 24 million because the majority of that is from the carryover, because we had almost 23 million carryovers from last year from all various restricted programs, and also some general fund side allocations. And our operational income is just covers our operations, and it covers like our utility. Our utility budget is about 2.5 million, and most of those operations is we have like a special ed program, the contracted services. I mean, not all of them are for staffing, and also like contract services with different agencies. But again, we're not going to fully spend the 17 million again. And after we close out by June 30th, whatever the unspent funds will carry over to next year from the restricted programs. The other outgo, the 6 million, those primarily is like a passing through funds. We pass through to, for example, to Metro Ed JPA, that's about 3.3 million. And also for the special education program, the county runs the program for a portion of our students and also will pass funds to them. Next slide, please. Here are the major changes compared to the first interim. And we adjusted the COLA projection. I'll go over that in the next slide. And also the COLA, cost of living adjustment, we reflected the latest governor's proposal for the next 2 years. And we just settled with our teachers and classified associations, so the cost is included in this projection. We have not done for the management group yet, but I have just estimated a 4% in this projection, just for now. And I also included the cost management starting next year, and right now it's 1.9 million in the budget. Next slide, please. This is the governor's 24-25 state budget proposal. And basically, he, besides a decrease from the COLA, originally it was estimated by the Department of Finance is about 3.9%. Now the estimated COLA for next year is 0.76%. So this is kind of like one of the major changes. Actually, he did not propose any overall cut to education funding. However, the state running a deficit. His proposed 24-25 state budget has a deficit of $38 billion. But he's trying to move around the funds and from the Prop 98 non-educational budget, trying to help to cover for the shortfall. So overall, for education, there is no cuts, but the revenue is less than what he was even projected last year for the next year. And also, I borrowed this COLA historic data from school services. I think this is a very interesting information. And it shows these past 10 years, you can see the trend of COLA. We started, that is 14, 15, it was started like a negative the first year, so it was a negative. And then in the 16, 17, it was nothing. It was 0%. And the most of year, you see the trend is between 2% and 3%. That's kind of like a normal. And then these past 2 years, you can see, especially current year, 23, 24, is current year. Current year, we're at 8.22%. That is the highest COLA. And then the year before was 6.5%. And then the governor also added one-time 6.7% on top of that, but that is not a COLA, it's just a one-time add-on. So made last year overall, the funding on LCFF is over 13%. But historically, you will see the COLA, most likely they're not going to be that high for the future years. And for this coming year, right now it was projected about 0.76%. Next slide, please. Here are the factors that we used in our multi-year projection. And again, each time when we change those factors, it changes our projection. And what I listed here, 23-24 is current year. There are no changes in current year, and the LCFF revenue slightly went up. That's because there was this funding for TK add-on. The dollar amount went up slightly, so we got a slight increase over there. And then the subsequent 2 years, I adjusted our ADA, which is average daily attendance. And I lowered the projection. So the blue you see at the second interim is the new ADA we're using in our calculation versus the first interim is listed underneath. And the one you see, if they're in blue color, those are the changes we made at the second interim. The reason I lowered the attendance because our attendance rate right now average maybe 95.5, 95.6%. And so for next year, I'm using the current regulation still allows the district to claim the 3 prior year of average. So the 3 prior year average will give us 9,665. So in reality, if we're doing better than this, then it will be good for us. But for now, at least we will be guaranteed for funding at this ADA level. And the COLA, as I shared earlier, so that's the newest COLA released by the governor, the Department of Finance for the next 2 years. And our supplemental students count went up slightly, and because it's an average of 3-year calculation. And so the LCFF reflects for the changes. Next slide, please. This is a highlight in our multi-year projections. And you see, I purposely highlight those yellow, and this will give you an idea how much we transfer in from our reserves and the building fund just to balance the budget. We start the first column, so that was 22-23 actual. After we close out the year, we had 27.7 million ending fund balance, but the majority of that ending fund balance was restricted. And this year, that's why this year's budget and under the supplies and operations, we have a huge budget because we bring in those carryovers into the budget, and then after we close out this year, the unspent balance, I'm sure in our ending fund balance, I'm very positive it will be a lot higher than what we listed here, 5.7 million, because of those carryover, the unspent. But again, they're restricted. There are expenditure, like spending, like strings attached with those dollars. And right now, the second interim is for our current year. This is now current projection. That is the second column. Besides the routine transfer in from building fund, the 1.4 million, we will need about, I couldn't see clear, it's 5.2 million, right? 5.2 million from our reserve to balance the budget. And also, I'm planning to transfer in about $500,000 from our post-retirement fund, and just to help to offset the retiree benefit cost increase. So total for current year right now, we're relying the reserves total about 5.7 million. And then next year, we only have about 3.7 left in our reserve. So we'll have to use our building fund to balance the budget. And I also keep in mind, I also included about 1.9 million, the cost reduction in our projection. And with that, we still, total, we need about 3.2 million from our building fund, and plus our balance in the reserve to balance next year's budget. And also $500,000 from our post-retirement benefit fund. And then the third year, 25-26, we will just have to rely on our building fund right now, just to balance the budget. And then we're spending down our post-retirement fund. Next slide, please. And this is another way to see the fund balance in our reserves and the building fund. So the top portion is our reserve fund. And you will see by the end of this year, we'll have some balance carry forward next year. And the next year, we're just going to fully use up our reserve. And our building fund so far looks, we have a decent, by the end of the third year, about 21 million fund balance. And if currently the housing market is still doing well, so right for this year, hopefully after we close out the book by the end of June 30th, we will our building fund income maybe will go up, and if from the RDA redevelopment agency's collection. And so right now I budget kind of conservatively, and the year after just to keep it just to be conservative. And next slide, please. So moving forward, we're currently working on 24-25 budget development. So that means we will go over working with the HR on the staffing. We'll look at each position and look at each program and just do a fine-tuned budget for the next year. And then our subsequent 2 years, so we'll extend our third year now to 25-26. So 24-25 will be in our first year, 25-26. So 26-27 will be in our third year now. And we just need to continue to monitor the state economy development, because right now the state revenue collection is behind. And the state is also has a deficit spending right now. And for Milpitas, I think we're still very fortunate because of our enrollment. So I'm curious to see what is our demographers, the latest update on our enrollment. And this year, our enrollment increased by over 200 students. So that's really a good, positive news for Milpitas. And if we continue to work hard on our attendance, I think we still have a room grow there, because if we can increase 1% in our attendance, that's a very easy 1.2 million revenue income. So while we're managing our spending, and there are also ways we can exploring new income. So then that way we can hopefully to our cost management will stay around within 2.5 million as we plan now. So with that, it concludes my presentation for tonight. Questions?
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Wen Jiang. Do we have any public comments on this particular agenda item?
We have no public comment at this time.
Board members, any questions?
Yeah, Wendy, this weekend I had an opportunity to attend a MIG training with Superintendent Jordan and Board Member Naka, and one of the conversations that they had about the season that was coming as far as school districts and finances, based on what the governor's COLA was and the deficit and all those things. And they used this term, I think, deferred. Was that the word? And deferred is when we don't have enough money to pay, and we have to borrow it, or we have to wait for the money. Is that what
It's when the state doesn't have enough money and they defer payment to the school districts. And so then the school districts, if they don't have money in reserves, then they can't make payroll.
Yes.
Unless they do a trans, which stands for, could you remind me what trans stands for?
A borrowing, sort of like trans, yeah.
Have you ever been in your history in the work, because the predictions in terms of the next several years, in terms of where the state revenue is going to be, it's still, plus the declining enrollment. Have you ever been in a situation, I know you showed the data about where the COLA has been, but have you ever been in a situation where there's been deferment?
Oh yeah, we had quite a few back in like 2008, 08, 09, when the state budget they're starting cutting us. And one way to cut school district is to defer the payment. And also I remember, I think even prior to 13, 14, even in those years, the state revenue and like our COLA maybe is around like a 3% or 4%. Sometimes the state cash coming in short than what they expected. And the first way is also easy way for them to do is to defer our payment, and then they catch up later when they have more cash come in. And so for us, that's the important thing why we need to keep a healthy reserve, because our payroll, just each month, the cash flow is about 15 million. So we need at least 15 million cash on hand each month so we can pay our staff. And if you recall, I think back then in those days, actually there are many districts there, and even at one point the state, they're issuing the slips to their employees because they don't have the cash on hand. And then the district most district did like furlough days, or they reduced, or like a salary rollback and this and that. That was in 09, 010, 2009, 10.
So instead of deferring, there was furlough or salary rollbacks?
Districts will do that. So the state basically deferred the apportionment to us. That means that our revenue, because we're supposed to receive basically our paycheck from the state each month. There is a schedule. And so the state doesn't do that, then we will have to use our own resource just to pay our people. And our resource comes in from our reserves.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? Wendy, on slide 6, as you were talking about the COLA, there was a bullet point that said no cuts to education funding. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, overall, governor's January proposal, he did not really cut education's funding. But the funding is driven by a formula. So overall, so the state budget works is a little bit complicated. So say in 22-23, the governor will do a projection for 24-25. So at the time, he projected an income to the district. And now he released his 24-25. And based on the formula, the funding is actually less, because they're doing like a test 1, test 2, test 3 of a Proposition 98 formula. But besides that, he did not propose any additional cuts. Like in the past, he will say, okay, instead of give you a COLA, we're going to reduce your COLA, or we're going even to do a deficit factor, or we're going to withhold your apportionment, that means defer. Actually, in January, he did not propose any defer. He also did not propose any sweeping. He could say, I'm going to sweep some education budget to use it for other purpose. But in his January's proposal, he did not offer any of those. But there is a possibility if the state revenue continue to fall behind, there is also this May revision. The May revision will come out in mid-May, and then we'll see if he will propose any cut to education.
Thank you. My additional question is in regards to the building fund. You talked about the routine transfer. That funding from a routine transfer, that's the source of the revenue that's generated from the rental properties that we have in the district, right?
Yes.
That's not taking additional building funds.
No,
on
it's
that
not.
routine.
So if you look at our multi-year projection in the history, every year we transfer 1.4 million.
And to the extent that was the maximum amount of rent that we received.
Yeah, well, this was actually the history go back to the year 2000. The board had a kind of like a board policy set up at the time and allowed the district to maximum to transfer that much from building fund and to general fund. And because of the rental income and plus the earned interest.
Great, thank you.
So I have, sorry.
No, go.
So you said like currently we have 95.5 to 95.6 our ADA. And by increasing that by 1%, that's 1.2 million. So let's say like if our district or like the school sites, if they were able to increase their 1%, I mean, can that go towards like the cost management and saving some of these positions?
Well, in next year, I mean, definitely that will be additional income, right? It will help in our budget situation, because right now our ADA projection is at 9,665. say if our ADA turns out to be 9,800, and it will increase our LCFF revenue. But the condition is also that, and then if our expenditures continue like what we projected, right? And then, so that means we don't need to do that much cost management. But if our expenditure also continue to grow with unexpected expenditures, because right now in this projection, I have not included any salary improvement for next year. If anything changes with the cost, that could also change the overall projection. So it depends, but definitely if our attendance goes up next year, it will help our financial position, put it that way.
So, quick question on our build-in fund. What is the projection in terms of its increase? What is annual increase? Is there annual increase?
Well, it's really hard to project. Yeah, it's really hard because the lease and the rental income is about 1.4 million because we have a 30-year lease agreement with our tenant, and that amount is set. So that alone will bring between 850,000 to $1 million gradually because each year we increase by the COLA.
Right.
And if COLA is lower, at least I think we can increase up to 3%, 3 or 3.5. I couldn't remember for sure now. And then the interest is another factor.
Right.
It depends on the interest rate earning, right?
Right.
And the redevelopment is a really depends.
Variable.
It really depends on the housing market. If the housing market is very strong, and then we'll have a more like a collection coming, and then our share of that collection will just depends on that. So right now, my projection is just keep it like flat.
Okay.
Okay.
I know the Santa Clara County Office of Education sent a letter during the first interim report. Is there any indication of their thoughts on the second interim report?
Actually, the county approved our first interim because we had the plan for the reductions, and so they approved it with no additional findings.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan.
And that's why I also included the cost management in our projection starting next school year. And with that, we were able to meet our financial obligations. We can meet to maintain the minimum 3% of reserve as required.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members?
One quick question, President. No? I can see that the transfers to the general fund is a big projection for 24-25 and 25-26. It's like 3.2 million. I mean, would that be close to adjusting to whatever we have, 1.4 million?
Say that again.
Yeah, I can see the projection for the transfers to the general fund. I mean, there is a list from the building fund, right? So the projection says it's 3.2 million, which is like a big, gap between 1.4 and 3.2. So would that be like adjusted immediately after the second interim, you think?
Oh, well, that's the reality. That's how much we need from building fund.
Okay.
I mean, and if you look at our building fund balance, fortunately, we have a reasonable building fund balance right now. We have about like close to 28 million. So in a way, we can do that. And if you look at the third year, 25-26, actually, we need about, 6-7 million.
Yes.
Yes. And but we have to use 7 million just to balance the budget. Otherwise, we won't have a balanced budget.
Thank you.
Any other additional questions? Seeing there's no additional questions, do we have a motion to accept the second interim report?
Motion to accept the second interim report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The second interim report is accepted. Moving on to item 3, resolution 2024.26, conduct a public hearing and adoption of the statutory school facilities developer fees.
Yes, and if you recall, and we used to have a large developer fee collection coming because Milpitas has quite a few developments. And then every 2 years, the state allocation board will adjust the fee, the level 1 fee. And in order for us to qualify for this justification, we have to do a justification study. So in the board agenda, we attached our justification study report. And then we are asking the board to do a public hearing to allow us to adopt the fee from $4.79 per square foot to $5.17 for the residential. And the commercial increase is from 78 cents now to 84 cents.
Motion to adopt, motion to open a public hearing.
I have a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Public hearing is open on this particular item. Set it for 2 minutes. Set it for 2 minutes. Those that would like to make a public comment on this particular item, may come to the podium or raise their hand online.
That brings up a good point. Could we adopt the resolution while the public hearing is open, or the public hearing has to go on by itself? And then we have to wait till the public hearing is over and then move on to the next item.
From a procedural standpoint, Superintendent Jordan?
You have to wait till you close the public hearing, and
Okay.
then you take your vote.
Okay, thank you.
What we can do is, once the public hearing ends, we can motion to close and adopt the resolution in one motion.
Superintendent Jordan, while the public hearing is still open, and we're talking about the, vote. It's okay. No, I saw it was on the early item.
Do we have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt resolution 2024.26?
Motion to close and adopt the resolution.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Public hearing is closed and resolution 2024.26 is adopted. Item 4, resolution 2024.27, urgency measure resolution implementing the new school facilities developer fees. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Move to adopt.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2024.27 is adopted. Moving, we do have a approved adjustment to the agenda. B, Human Relations, item 4, adopt resolution 2024.29 to decrease the number of classified employees due to lack of work and or lack of funds.
Following the direction of the board and the cost management suggestions, we do have a resolution to decrease the number of classified employees due to a lack of work and or a lack of funds. And that's under the authority of Ed Code sections 45114, 45115, 45117, 45298, and 45308. Hereby finds it necessary and in the best interest of the district to eliminate the full-time equivalent of the classified service as specified 3 FT of health secretary clerk. The remaining health clerk positions will be shared so that sites do have coverage, and the model will be similar to the model that we had before COVID, and that model was a model that we had for at least 15 years. So I ask that the board adopt the resolution following through with what was decided last board meeting in February.
Thank you, Interim Assistant Superintendent Damon James. We do have speaker cards here on this particular item. So from public comment, we have Sherry Ames.
My name is Sherry Ames. I am the CSCA president. I have been to all the school sites since this, the last board meeting where it was publicly stated that the health clerks were going to be on the list of potential reductions. My takeaways from these site visits are fear, stress, worry, uncertainty, and this is coming on the heels of the PE paras whose positions have already been effectively eliminated within the district. The health clerks are worried about losing their jobs to the point we had 6 show up and 3 are still here. We've had 3 principal secretaries showed up, 1 is still here. There are concerns. They're worried about their jobs, and the other secretaries, the remaining office staff, are worried about having to take on more duties in their already full plate. So we want to do better for our students. They deserve it. We would like this not to happen. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker, we have Robin James, Utigard? Utigard.
Hello, members of the board, Superintendent Jordan, thank you for your time this evening. I'm here, as you can see, I'm the labor relations representative from CSCA and the representative for California School Employees Association's Milpitas Chapter 281. As you can see by my t-shirt, I'm here standing in solidarity with Chapter 281 today to urge the board not to approve any layoffs for the 24-25 school year of any CSCA bargaining unit members, including health clerks. Let's be absolutely clear about funding. If we want to talk about Prop 98 funding, the Prop 98 funding from before the pandemic started, we have seen historic, unprecedented levels of Prop 98 funding. And even though, as was stated in Wendy's presentation, that the COLA is less than expected, essentially districts in California are flat funded. And so there should be no reason that districts are laying off classified employees for the 24-25 school year if districts are fiscally responsible, especially a district like Milpitas that has historically less declining enrollment than other districts in California. When you look at my t-shirt and you see the CSCA slogan, attract, retain, and value, the district should look at that strategy as not just a way of attracting, retaining, and valuing classified employees, but as a way that you should look at attracting, retaining, and valuing your students. Because even one layoff of one health clerk is going to directly impact the students, the parents, and the staff of this district. And what is likely to occur if you approve this is that more and more board meetings, you're gonna have students, staff, and parents complaining that their students are not being served. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anita Madison.
Hi there. It's nice to be here to see all these familiar faces out here. A couple of you, I definitely recognize you. You see, I am a health clerk, and I've been doing it now for 10 years. And so I know that I've seen the difference between working for just one school and working for 2 schools. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit. When you work for 2 schools, you are so busy with the paperwork that you don't really get a chance to know the kids. Like you can't see or hear them as well because you're always focusing on, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, because you're working 2 jobs, because you have paperwork from one school and paperwork from the other school that you're working on. So as you know, it's not like a doctor's office where they schedule to come in to see you. You can have 4 or 5 students come and see you all at the same time, and their needs are very different, whether it's an SDC kid, a behavior kid problem. And so you have to know how to handle these kids as they come in. And there's the logistic part of it too. So when you're working in the office, you work as a team. And so you know how the other person works. It's like working the other hand, and this is what so-and-so, this is what so-and-so does. When you work for 2 schools, you're trying to figure out each individual school, whether it's teachers, rooms, follow up on kids, accidents reports, things like that. So we have a very personal connection with both the teachers, the parents, and the students. So our job is vital, and there's only one of us that takes care of that health concern. So we are focusing on the kid, their medications, what do you need? What is this condition? So as we can see during this pandemic, that health is very important, and we can't just brush that aside and say we don't need that, that your school does not need a personal health clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, we have Joy Humano Garcia.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Ulanim Garcia. I'm a CSCA communications officer, a union steward, and also an administrative secretary at the DO. So just picture this. A first grader in front of you with a bloody nose. A second grader coming to in front of you has a scrape on his elbow. A third grader in front of you with lice, but there's no health clerk because she had to go to another school. Imagine a 4th grader with a stomachache because she never had breakfast in the morning. Imagine a 5th grader who has a swollen eye because a ball just hit him during recess. Imagine a 6th grader in a fight and had to go to the health office. But there's no health clerk because they had to travel to the other school. Imagine a 7th grader who again comes in because she has been vomiting in the restroom, in the bathroom for 30 minutes. Imagine a classroom in PE calling the health clerk because there's an injury during PE, but there's no health clerk because they're traveling to the other school. These instances happen in our schools. This is an important issue. Please save our health clerks. Save them all.
Thank you. Do we have any additional speakers on this particular item? Just state your name.
My name is David Matheson. So I've been in Milpitas for a long time now. Both my kids went all the way through Milpitas schools, kindergarten, and my oldest is getting married and my youngest is at De Anza College now. I didn't used to think much about health clerks and what they do and front office staff in general until my wife started working there, and I learned it's a very different experience than the classroom. I was amazed how different it is. But this is what I've observed. When she worked at 2 schools, when she was not at one of the schools, the paperwork from that school would still pile up. And it would be there for her when she went there. So she'd still have all the TDAPs to do for both schools, all the health paperwork to do for both schools. But here's the other thing I noticed. There's 3 positions in the front office. The principal secretary, who in many ways runs the school. This is what I've learned as a teacher. They run the school in many ways. The health the attendance clerk and the health clerk, and they together run the front office, and they keep the school running. So I've watched as my wife's done this. During COVID, I was sitting at home teaching Zoom in front of my computer. She had to go to work every day. I watched when we came back from COVID. That was a rough year because I don't know what they're talking about. They don't have, there's a shortage of positions or something, because I've never seen the office at her school fully staffed. They've always been short-staffed, and she's always had to cover for that short staff and come home and say things like, it's not my job to order paper for the copy machines, but if I don't do it, the school won't function. So I've watched all this, and I'm just, as an objective observer, I guess, from the outside, sharing what I've seen and hope it helps inform your decision.
Thank you. Any additional speakers?
My name is Ashley Gunn, Milpitas High alumni, mom to Milpitas student, new health clerk. Single mom, best job ever, but I didn't realize how important this job was until I had students coming to my office on their lunchtime because they need that happy place, that person that they can come talk to. That's not the office where I'm in trouble again. It's that person that's gonna give them that comfort. Whether it's, I need a Band-Aid, or I just need an ice pack, or hey, I don't really feel good, but I just wanna be in math right now. I'm that person they come talk to. And it's my first year there, and I've made such an impact on so many kids that they wanna come see me. Not their teachers, not their fellow peers, they come up to my office. They feel comfortable in my office. If I'm not there, who's gonna be there for them? If the secretaries are on the phone, they're busy with other things that they have to get done. Nobody. We're just as important as anybody else.
Thank you so much. Any additional speakers? Scott, do we have any online comments?
We don't have any online comment at this time.
I believe we had some written comments.
Yeah, I have 48 written comments.
Anything different from what was stated in the in-person comments?
I mean, it's just in support of, they're all in support of the health clerks,
okay.
From various staff members and parents.
All right, let the record show there were 48 written public comments in support of retaining the health clerks. With that said, any additional questions or comments from our board members?
Can any of those be read? What's the board policy?
They are important, and so we're stating that 48 written comments were here in support of that. Even if we allocated 1 minute to each of them, that's an additional 48 minutes that we will sit here to read all of them. They will be available from a public records perspective for anyone that requests it. But again, for the record, we're stating there are 48 written comments in support of retaining the health clerks. Would you like to speak, Mr. Weber? Okay. So, closing.
Good evening, school board, executive cabinet. And I guess I'm speaking on the subject of the health clerks. But I believe that 48 written comments should be heard. I find it interesting that something as important as this for our personnel and for our students is kept until 10 o'clock exactly, and yet 48 people took time to write their comments, to send them in. The school board always manages to find time for other things that are very important, such as posing for pictures and allowing people to speak with no time limit when they take their picture. And yet, 48 people took the time to make their comments, send them in advance so that you could hear their comments. I hear you say they're important, and I actually believe you. I believe that you think they're important. And the 48 minutes, if you gave each one 1 minute, would not be comfortable for us. But I really feel that we are negating their opinions. And I have a hard time dealing with that. As a teacher, I do recognize the value of our health clerks. And I find it difficult to think that we can't find the money while our admin positions have grown over the last couple of years. And something as important as health, SEL, gets ignored. And so I think there may be a different decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. So he has no additional speakers coming to the podium. We'll move on to board deliberation. Board members, any questions?
So, Board President, no, the process is that we would vote second and then go into discussion unless we're doing, do we have any, are you asking if we have any questions in advance of that?
Do we have any questions in advance of that?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for the information that they shared and all the comments that we received. Superintendent Jordan, who is responsible for oversight of the health clerks throughout the district?
That would be Executive Director Mary Jude Dorpinghouse.
So would she have, I heard a couple of narratives about this scenario, that scenario, and I also heard Damon say that we had a staff pre-COVID. Of course, I think we have less students now than we had. I don't know what that number is.
Excuse me,
do we have
Trustee
more
Norwood.
students?
Interim Assistant Soup James corrected me. It's the principals.
Yes, and just for clarity, when we had a shared health clerk, they reported to student services, but when we fulfilled each site with having their own health clerk, we turned the supervisory responsibility to the principals. So the principals have direct supervision over the health clerks currently.
So if I were to ask for data about how many students that our health clerks have seen, we would have to get that from each principal because they have all that paperwork?
I would say yes. I would also say that our executive director could support facilitating that because the nurses are overseen by the executive director, and the nurses in turn work with the health clerks as far as immunization pieces. So it's been quite a while since I've supported in the office, but there used to be a log that the health clerks would complete, at least for when kids came in, and I see Ms. Matheson shaking her head or nodding her head, at least when the kids came in to take their medication. So there is still that log, so that log is still maintained.
So we would have the opportunity to review historic in terms of the amount of traffic or the amount of work that they've been doing as it relates to their primary position. I understand that they may have other positions in the office, but the primary position is health clerk and serving students. So there should be a log that we could look at historically in terms of the number of students that they've been serving, if that number's been going up, or if it's maintained, or if it's going down.
Yes.
Right? The other piece is that I want to add is that I am concerned about, well, one of the things that Wendy had mentioned earlier was about if we can get our attendance up. I'm looking for some input in terms of have the health clerks help decrease our absenteeism in some way, because if we don't have the health clerks and our absenteeism goes up, then we've negated the point of being able to save the money because we're not having the kids in their seats. So I would like to be able to make my decision with some of those data points, appreciating the anecdotals, but also having some facts around if there is any around how the health clerks have facilitated increased attendance. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Trustee Norwood. Trustee Jones?
Yeah, so I'm interested in understanding, because I don't know that I fully understand the impact if we were to go ahead with this. Yes, I understand we would lose 3, but how does that impact the overall school? Not sure I understand.
So then what would happen, as Ms. Matheson described, is we would go back to how it was before COVID, and each health clerk from elementary through middle school would have 2 schools that they support. And so they would spend 3 hours at one school and then 3 hours at the other school.
Right, so what happens to school what happens to school A that they just left to go to school B? What happened, who serves those kids while they're in school B? That's what I'm trying to understand.
The other members of the office team. So it could be the principal secretary, the staff secretary, the principal, or the assistant principal.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can you remind me, like, what is the cost that we're saving by?
I think it was 278,000.
What's the number?
278,000.
Clarification on that number, that's benefits everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Board Clerk Naka, do you have a question or comment?
Probably we have to look into the data before we adopt or move on with any kind of resolution on adopting.
Thank you, Trustee Naka.
Thank you.
Were there a reduction in responsibilities of the health clerk?
No.
No. And the recommendation came because of what rationale?
Because the additional time was added with the COVID funding.
So the position was supported by one-time COVID funds.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, those were because of the additional reporting requirements that were tied to testing, COVID.
The testing, yes.
And with the update of the county policy, because I believe the county runs that, those requirements no longer are required.
Right.
Okay. And so we have a request from the board, it sounds like, for additional data points to understand the true impact of the reduction of the health clerks in relation to our ADA. What type of timeline can we expect as far as the data?
Speaking of timelines, Interim Assistant Soup James, could you please explain the statutory timeline?
So should you approve this resolution, we have to let the affected employees know by March 15th.
So, in other words, without approving it, then the action doesn't take place.
I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
We would, in order to have the data and also meet the statutory timeline, we would have to have a special board meeting, or the board could elect not to take action.
Thank you for the clarification, Superintendent Jordan. Trustee Jones?
One other question. So playing both sides, understand the consequence of not taking action. I understand that's a financial impact, but have we explored all creative ways to try to fund this otherwise?
I think we could apply for grants. I think we could also, there's a number of different areas that we heard about tonight. We heard about tech, we heard about health clerks. There was one other item that we heard about.
PE sports.
Thank you. PE and sports, PE paraprofessionals, PE teachers, sports. And the thing that comes to mind is something that I know is a parcel tax.
I'm sorry?
A parcel tax.
I see. And last question. One group of folks who I haven't heard, because it's my understanding that the clerks report to the principals. I'd like to get their viewpoint on, the clerk's value or piece that they do to support the team.
I don't think we have any principals tonight.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the principals did not want to let go of the health clerks. However, their priority was maintaining full-time assistant principals.
I see.
Right, because assistant principals are involved with IEPs and a number of other things as far as classroom, which is for compliance reasons, right?
Right, as well as safety and security.
From a personnel standpoint, the potential individuals that would be reduced, are they eligible to apply for other positions that are open in the district?
Interim assistant soup.
So right now we're working with CSCA on an MOU to negotiating the effects of the layoff. Currently, of the 3 employees, 1 employee is qualified for another open position in the district. One of those employees is scheduled to take an assessment to see that that individual is also qualified potentially for an open position. The other individual is only qualified at this time for a health clerk position. That does not mean that that potential person couldn't be interested in another open position. Right now, the majority of the positions that we have open are paraprofessional positions. So if your skill set is more in the clerical world, you're most likely not going to be interested in a paraprofessional position, and you'll be looking for another clerical position. That being said, we have open clerical positions probably every 4 to 5 months in the district as people retire, resign, etc. So I anticipate that there will be additional clerical positions in the upcoming months.
Thank you.
Are there any, management position that, vacancy that we don't really need to fill, for the year being so that we can apply it towards the, paying the 3 health clerks for this year so that we can have time to look for funding, get our ADA, all that stuff so that we can, maintain, the health for schools and students and staff?
With current vacancies, no, but with upcoming vacancies that might occur, yes.
You had a comment? Assistant Superintendent
Yeah,
Dijon?
I just want to piggyback on what Cheryl shared about the parcel tax, and I just want to remind the board, we have not increased our parcel tax. It has been $84 ever since 2010, the first parcel tax we passed. And then I remember back then, when we did this recent renewal, there was a strategy, and also was thinking at least if we can just keep the same $84 and get it passed, and along the way, if there's a need, we can go back to the voters again. Maybe we'll do another campaign and see if we can increase the fund, to increase that dollar amount. Because compared to other school districts in the Santa Clara County, our parcel tax $84 is like really at the bottom versus some other school districts. So that's just a thought. So since Cheryl mentioned the parcel tax, that's another way of bringing income. But that is it also in the residents, in the voters' hand.
Thank you, Wendy. So what I heard is for this particular position, the two additional funding mechanisms is potential grant writing and potentially going out to the community to increase the parcel tax.
And if we did a parcel tax, it would support the other areas that we heard tonight were of importance to our community and our team members.
Thank you. As we always say, parcel tax are meant for programs and people from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And the $84 parcel tax that we have currently brings in about 1.5 million.
I'm sorry, when is the current parcel tax expired?
It has about 6 more years on it. However, that doesn't preclude us from doing an additional one.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Board members, do you have any other questions or comments? Is there a thought as far as a motion?
A quick question, President. Is there any fund that a particular school site, they end up not using and we can, accumulate for such purposes? It's for the health clerks?
I think I heard you ask if there's other funding at the school sites.
Yeah, which unused, the funds that we allocate for each school site.
That actually is what we're using to maintain full-time assistant principals.
I'm just trying to think out loud. Is there a way that we can collaboratively work with the parents, with the teachers, and then also, on our side, fund partially and everybody contribute? Instead of like, the 278, maybe we fund a certain amount, the school, the parents do a fundraising, right? So it's not a huge 278, but we all take a part to keep them, right? Because everybody's at stake, right? The teachers, the health clerk, you try to, encourage the students to come to school. We're all in it together, right? So, I mean, can we come to some kind of agreement like that? Because we want to keep you. I mean, let's do it together. Right? You guys are important to us. The students need you.
So thank you for your comments, Vice President Yeshwan. I think the executive cabinet is looking for direction from the board as far as, how to proceed in that. And I hear the optimism as far as trying to figure out a plan. But as a collective board, do we have any thoughts of what that plan should look like?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and propose that we at least take 1 year to come up with creative strategies on how to fund this, take the hit the next year, and we just have to work hard and creatively to figure out how we can make this work. Because, without hearing all sides of the story, it sounds like within that office teams, those 3 people are critical to making that school work. So if that is indeed the case, then it's not smart to go cut that off, right? Because each school has to be successful. But on the other side of the coin, we have to be fiscally responsible and we have to make our budgets work. Without having all the data right now, it seems prudent that I am comfortable taking a hit for 1 year to go figure out how do we make this work. That'd be my proposal.
Thank you, Trustee Zhao. We got one
Yeah,
thought.
and that circles back to my original question about who's responsible for the oversight of because if we're talking about creative funding strategies or grant writing or whatever else for a health clerk, I'm not sure that should be falling on the principals of the school site to be responsible for supporting those programs. That's why I was asking about where is the oversight, and is that with student services?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And then I guess I also heard that Wendy had mentioned we haven't done, our parcel tax is 84, and that it's lowest in the county.
Well, it's one of the lowest.
Or one of the lowest in the county, and that there are some other needs that we may have as well. I think from my notes, I saw there was a conversation about full-time PE, there's health clerks, there's the STEM, because there was almost the possibility of the cut at Rancho. We're dealing with AI and a number of other things that are happening. So it seems like there may be time, plus the sports and then bilingual preschool staffing. So there's definitely some staffing needs that we have that would benefit the district as a whole on an ongoing basis, but not just the benefit to the district, but the community, because then I know they want their kids in school as well. So thank you for those ideas and that input.
And from a budget standpoint, the reason why we're looking at cost management was because of the increase in compensation that is being applied to future years.
Well, that does have a factor, and it's because we have the structural deficit that we've been maintaining for a number of years, as long as we've had that special reserve, which, as you could see from Wendy's report, is scheduled to be zero.
Thank you.
I put out something.
No, I'm looking for additional.
Motion? Were you making a?
Yeah,
I guess the action item was.
Well, it's a.
The action item was
right?
to adopt the resolution.
Right.
If there is a particular amended motion to that, or we ask to bring this particular item back
Well,
in the future.
I guess I'll make it official.
I think if the board just takes no action, it dies.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, at this point, since it's an action item, we can choose not to take any action, provide the superintendent the direction that I had proposed.
Thank you. And so I'll ask once again, from a procedural standpoint, do we have a motion?
Well, I guess the motion is to take no action, right?
Again, I'm
Okay.
asking if there is
I make a motion to take no action on this specific item.
So you
I
either
think
motion
you
to
just
take
don't
action
take
on the
it.
item,
You
or you
just
don't
don't.
motion at all.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And so,
No motion.
for procedural standpoint, I'm
Gotcha.
asking, is there a motion?
Okay.
I'm hearing none. With no motion, this particular item does not pass from this standpoint. And so, from a directional standpoint, I heard that direction for the additional data points, additional avenues to figure out how to fund this. I think we're all in agreement as far as taking the deficit hit for this year from a budget standpoint. Hopefully, increasing ADA will cover the cost of that so that we don't have to take the deficit hit. So there should be some communication in that standpoint to really drive the ADA for the rest of this
And
year.
also getting our families involved to encourage their kids to go to school, to get our funding up, to get our ADA up. And we need your support to do that.
Right.
Let's all in agreement to do that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to take the, I mean, I understand we have this timeline, but I don't want to take the hit this year. I want to, if we understand if we don't, since we didn't take a motion, we have a window of time to see where the dollars potentially could be for the following year in terms of health and public education. I haven't done any research in terms of what dollars may be out there, but I'm definitely willing to investigate that in support of the direction that the board has selected.
So Assistant Superintendent Wendy, remind me again, if we move 0.5% of ADA, how much do we recover?
Oh, that'll be about 600K.
600, and we talked about, this is only 278,000 as far as the budget hit for the 3 FTEs or headcount.
Right.
Okay.
If we are, I mean, the overall, the proposal, the cost of management is close to 2 million. I mean, so this is just a portion of it.
Perfect. And so I know a lot of families, a lot of times schedule appointments at the beginning of the day, and they bring their students, halfway through in the afternoon. However, if I understand from an ADA perspective, that does not count as attendee. Is that correct?
Well, at the secondary level, it does, but I think at the elementary level, they have to be there at the beginning of the school day.
Yes, okay.
Correct.
So that strategy should be kind of at the top to help increase that, attendance, just because, parents should schedule their doctor's appointment, dentist appointment in the afternoon, and let their students come in the morning for attendance.
Elementary.
Yeah, for elementary. Any other additional feedback, comments? I appreciate everyone here for sticking out with us this late. We do care, as you can tell from this board. We continue to find the processes to really address all the pathways to help all of our students, all of our learners, and all of our staff in the school. So thank you so much. Moving to the next item here. Item 1, approve the tentative agreement between MUSD and the California School Employees Association, and it's Chapter 281.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
We have motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve. Any additional, before, any public comments from procedural standpoint? No? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none?
President, no, may I thank the team? I did that with MTA. Can I just thank them? CSCA President Sherry Ames, Vice President Suzette Bromagen, Labor Rep Robin James Udigard, CSCA Steward Lori Louie, CSCA Member George DiCarlo, and CSCA Member Guadalupe Tinoco. Thank you.
And your team as well. And your team as well.
Thank you for speaking up, Damon. As you know, I move fast here, so you catch me when you can here.
So also, legal counsel Matthew Jewell.
Can't hear you.
Turn on your speaker. Or bring it closer to you.
Legal counsel Matthew Jewell Darlington, Assistant Super Business Services Wendy Zhang, HR Director Kristen Stonehouse, HR System Supervisor Heather Forsyth Cano, Principal Dr. Hannah Azrat, Director of Secondary Ed Marissa Coide, Assistant Principal Milpitas High School Casey McMurray, Director of MOT Van Wyn, and Director of Student Nutrition and the Warehouse Sandy Quinn, and our Executive Secretary and Sherry for taking care of the treats for us.
All right, thank you, Damon. Next item, item 2, approve memorandum of understanding between Milpitas Unified School District and the California School Employees Association, and it's Chapter 281. Do you have any comments, Damon? No? Do we have, no, we did number 1, approve the tentative agreement, and now we're approving the MOU.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Motion to approve the MOU between the MUSD and the California School Employees Association is Chapter 281.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional public comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The MOU is approved. Next item, item 3, approve the memorandum of understanding between the Milpitas Unified School District and the Milpitas Teacher Association. Damon, do you have any comments on this? No? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the MOU with the Milpitas Teachers Association?
Motion to approve. Rob's got it.
Motion, do we have second?
Second.
All right. Any additional public comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The MOU is approved between MUSD and the Milpitas Teachers Association.
Scott, can you please pull up the resolution?
Item C, Superintendent's Office 1, adopt resolution 2024-30, adoption of the MUSD Build a Culture Week Governance Handbook.
Motion to approve.
Wait for
Gotta see
Scott.
it
Oh, sorry.
So this is a resolution for the board to adopt, and it's allows the board to adopt the Build a Culture Week Governance Handbook.
Quick question, and I noticed it when we were doing the report. I have building a culture of we governance handbook, and this says build a governance team. Is it build or building? Because I'll make the change on the front of the handbook. If it's
It should mirror what we have here on the resolution as far as build a culture week.
so it's build. I'll make that change on that handbook. Yeah.
I do like the action over verb.
Trustee Nora, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
I do like the verb.
Building.
Yep.
All right. So do we have a motion to modify the resolution to state building a culture of we governance handbook?
I motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any additional public comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The amended resolution 2024-30 adopt a MUSD building a culture of we governance handbook is approved. Thank you all for your work in this.
Thank you, President No.
Item 2, adopt revised board group agreements.
So Scott, would you please put those up? So these are the board group agreements that the board amended at its last board superintendent retreat, and this is the official document for the board to approve.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. And that's why I forgone reading the board group agreements because of the revised edition that we have here. Thank you all for your participation in continuing to evolve what this board expects and how we conduct ourselves. And so with that said, do we have a motion to adopt the revised board group agreements?
I'll make a motion to adopt the revised board group agreements.
Do we have a second? Motion and second. Do we have any public comments? Board Clerk Naka, second. Seeing no public comments, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The revised board group agreements are adopted. Item 3, adopt resolution 2024-28, recognizing and honoring March as National Women's History Month.
Scott, would you intro our video?
Yeah, for this video, we had the Milpitas High School STEM Girl Club members featured in the video reading that we're going to play right now.
Hi everyone, I'm Savan Bolu and I'm the president of Milpitas High School STEM Girls. Today we're here to read Resolution 2024.28, recognizing and honoring March as National Women's History Month.
Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and Whereas in Milpitas and Santa Clara County, inspiring women have made a difference and paved the way for other women in their respective fields, such as City of Milpitas Mayor Carmen Montano, Vice Mayor Evelyn Chua, and City Council Member Han Lian, School Board Vice President Kelly Yip Chuan, and Clerk Dr. Anu Naka, Supervisors Cindy Chavez, Susan Ellenberg, and Sylvia Arenas, and County Superintendent of Schools Dr. Mary Ann Dowen, and
Whereas Milpitas Unified School District maintains strong women leadership with Superintendent Cheryl Jordan, Assistant Superintendent Wendy Zhang, Chief Business Officer Dorothy Reconose, Executive Directors Preeti Johari and Mary Jude Dorpinghouse, Director Sandy Nguyen and Wen Nguyen,
as well as Principals Hannah Azrat, Jackie Vo Feldinger, Nicole Klein, Kristen Prolo, Claudia Cadenas, Nancy Paz, Laurie Armino, Parwinder Johal, Diana Elze, Carissa Scott, Shangri-La Mia Ramzan, Hetal Patel, and Guilana Brahim, and
Whereas throughout the U.S., strong women have garnered a special place in our history, such as Michelle Obama, the first African American First Lady, Kamala Harris, the first woman and woman of color to serve as Vice President, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the youngest woman to serve in Congress,
Amelia Earhart, the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic, Sandra Day O'Connor, the first female Supreme Court Justice who served 24 years, Sally Ride, the first American woman in space, U.S. Representative Nancy Pelosi, the first female Speaker of the House, and the list goes on.
Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, such as the women's suffrage movement, the #MeToo movement, and the March for Our Lives and the Women's March. And
whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, climate change, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which creates a more fair and just society for all. And
American women have served our country courageously in the military, such as 4-star General Anne E. Dunwoody and 4-star Admiral Michelle Howard, and
whereas the rights of women have been challenged throughout history, culminating in legislation such as in 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is ratified, ensuring the right of women to vote. In 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed into law the Equal Pay Act, prohibiting sex-based wage discriminating between men and women, performing the same job in the same workplace.
In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law. Title VII, or 7, bans employment discrimination based on race, religion, national origin, or sex. In 1994, President Bill Clinton signed the Violence Against Women Act, providing funding for programs that help victims of domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, stalking, and other gender-related violence. And in 2013, the U.S. military removes the ban against women serving in combat positions.
now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Milpitas Unified School District that March is designated as Women's History Month.
Passed and adopted by the Milpitas Unified School District Board of Education at a meeting held on March 12, 2024 by the following vote.
Thank you for producing that video with the students there. So Trustee Norwood, you had a motion?
Yep, motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second. Any public comments? Being none. All those in favor of adopting the resolution for honoring March as National Women's History Month?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution is adopted.
President, no, for the next item, it is the recommendation to approve the Community Board Advisory Council Board appointment for member at large, and Ms. Noreen Kinohi is on a line. She's been waiting for this agenda item.
Great, thank you. And are we allowing Noreen to speak?
Yep. She's underneath attendees.
She's on the panelist side.
Okay, Noreen, you are unmuted and you can speak.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I just want to quickly just add that I appreciate this opportunity and there's some things I did leave off the application that I wanted to add. I am a Milpitas High or Milpitas Unified School District alumni. So I've actually attended Zanker, Rancho, and Milpitas High, and my son currently is attending Milpitas High. He is a ninth grader. And matter of fact, as we were doing our meeting tonight, I just want to share that my son, who played at Rancho Middle School last year in 8th grade, he was actually part of the Rancho boys basketball team that was recognized in February 2023. So I was actually there at that meeting. And I also do have a daughter who will be 1 year old soon, and so she will be the future MUSD alumni. So overall, there's about 10 of us in our families that went through the school district. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. Thank you for your introduction, and thank you for being invested in Milpitas with your family. With that said, board members, do we have a motion to approve the CBAC appointee, Noreen?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comments? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Noreen is approved as the CBAC board appointee for March 2024 through October 2025. And thank you, Noreen, for stepping up in servitude. Next, consent items. Consent items are considered routine and will be acted upon by the board in one motion. There is no discussion on these items prior to the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request that specific items be tabled or removed for discussion or correction. Do we have a motion to approve consent items or request to remove?
Actually, I have a request to remove 19A5 for discussion.
Any other additional requests? Hearing none. Scott, any public comments? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve consent items except for A5?
Make a motion to approve all consent items except for A5.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Consent items except for 19A5 are approved. So 19A5, approve the MOU for food recovery for Milpitas Unhoused Project with Hope for the Unhoused.
Yes, thank you. I will not be voting on this for conflict of interest.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. So if I heard correctly, you're recusing yourself from the vote on this particular
correct.
item. Any other additional comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the MOU for food recovery for Milpitas Unhoused Project?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call. Trustee Norwood.
Yes.
Trustee Naka.
Yes.
Vice President Yip Schwan.
Yes.
And excuse me, Board Clerk Naka. President No, yes. And then Trustee Young will be abstaining.
Correct.
So MOU food recovery is approved. Item 20, dates of future board meetings. We have March 26th, tentative open session. Is that correct? Oh, that's not correct. We already had the board retreat, so we wouldn't do a board retreat again March 26th.
That was my, I copy and pasted from previous and I didn't realize that, so yeah.
Make that correction.
No,
March 26th would be tentative study session, 5 p.m., tentative closed session, 6 p.m., open session, 7 p.m.
Here at the Randall World Language School. Thank you. Item 21, announcements and reminders. Do we have any announcements and reminders?
Chamber crab feed.
Chamber of Craft this Friday.
Yes, and if you haven't bought your tickets, we still have a few tickets left. It's not too late.
Executive Cabinet, any announcements?
It is the beginning of Ramadan, and just want to wish everybody a good Ramadan. And then at the iftar dinners that are coming up, I think I'm going to say it incorrectly, Mubarak. I know there's
Eid Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan.
I just wanted to invite our community next week on Wednesday. Our 3 secondary teams are co-leading an event to share with the community that in MUSD we now have many high school options for our parents to choose from. So we'll be spotlighting the programming at MHS, including the Innovation Campus, Middle College, and Calaveras Hills.
Thank you, Preeti. Board members, any other additional announcements or reminders?
Any information that you have on that, Preeti, that we can share with the community about the high school showcase that you're referring to as far as the secondary options? We would love to get the word out to many different resources as possible on that.
Sure, we have an invite that we can share, and it's also on the district events calendar.
Great. Thank you so much. Item 22, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn, yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you all. Meeting is adjourned.